You don't got work in the morning.
No, we're all good. Evan,
What up?
we're back. We're back with episode number 158 of My Cup of Tea. And apparently there was a precursor to the episode.
Yeah, I forgot I said that. I was heated earlier, and I was like, you know what, let me put that in for the podcast. That'd be pretty funny.
Funny, but like also I'm not gonna disagree on much with you.
No, you're not. And that's because I know you and because we talked about the show a lot. But even if we did, it'll be a fun conversation to be had. I really liked this finale. There's one issue I have with it. I think everybody else has the same issue with it. That the whole Scar Island bit.
Skull Island?
Scar Island.
Scar Island, okay.
With Ellie getting nearly killed. I think that was completely useless. Even as somebody who tries to, me, I try to find every, tinge of like compelling narrative or character, point to talk about. That scene, I was just watching it. I'm like, first of all, I don't remember this from the game. Okay, interesting. What's going to happen here? But it just ends. It's very goofy. But I'll talk about that in a second. Because I'll get the negative out the way first. But we're here to talk about The Last of Us. Glad I'm back. I'm hyped. I can't wait. We're gonna talk about the finale, but also the season as a whole. Because I've been seeing a lot of complaints about this season. A lot of good stuff as well from people who haven't watched the show or haven't played the game, which is interesting. I've been seeing that throughout the season. People who have not played the game watching it and having the reaction that I like to see, or having just a fun like what the hell reaction. Do you remember from like the Collider crew? What's her name? I watched her YouTube video. Not Perry. Roxy Stryer. Do you remember her from Schmoes?
Yeah, I follow Roxy a lot to this day. She's cool.
Yeah, she's cool, and she's been doing like live reactions after the episode for the past couple weeks.
Yeah, she's that's fun. On the Real Rejects channel, they have a group of people who do reactions that played the game, and then she's part of the group that haven't played it.
Exactly,
it's a co-running. It's really cool.
So I was watching Roxy talking about other TV shows too. The Studio also had the finale this week. The Studio was really good. But anyways, for Last of Us, and she was having a fun reaction, but like, oh my gosh, like Ellie, what the fuck? Like, what'd you just do? And then like all this craziness in the finale. I just want to say that I like that kind of reactions. But overall, I enjoyed the season a lot. I've been seeing a lot of complaints that it's just I don't even know where to begin with all this, but like I've been seeing a lot of complaints that it's like the season's empty, and I'm like, I don't feel that complaint. Like you can complain about, I feel like Craig deserves to go to hell, and he should just leave the writing to Neil. And I'm just like, this is the same group of people that said Neil is the worst writer in gaming history after Last of Us Part 2. Remember that, dude? Like people were coming for his throat, saying like his family should die and all the kind of craziness on it.
It was insane.
It was crazy in 2020. I was there. People thought Neil was like punching bag for everything that was wrong with like gaming.
You're wearing a very prudent shirt today, based on the type of fan reaction.
I know, right? So yeah, I loved a lot of this season, and what it accomplished in terms of Ellie's story. But what I was saying earlier is that like people are complaining that this season is empty, and that Ellie is the show is veering away from Ellie being unlikable. And I'm just like, I don't think that's the case. And they're comparing these scenes from 1-to-1 from the game, and I'm watching them. I'm like, the show might be better than the game. A lot of points in this show, and for me, I'm just like, the people are looking at the game like it's some kind of. I think it is a masterpiece. The Last of Us Part 2 is in my top 10, 15 games of all time.
Pretty sure it's my top 3.
Top 3 for you?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean,
all my top 3s are PlayStation exclusives. But
I go back and forth between which one I like better, Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2. I think the Part 1 is a bit tighter, but Part 2 goes it has like not higher highs, but just like it's a more interesting highs than Part 1. But Part 2 again I think Part 2 has some structural issues that Part 1 just doesn't have. But and then I have a lot of Uncharted games above Part 2. But anyways, I love this game a lot too, and I think the game accomplishes something that is tangential but different than what the show is offering. But at the same time, I don't think the show is failing in its narrative of Ellie being on this dark path. I think one thing that, before we dive into the episode, people are complaining about like Ellie not killing a lot of people. That's a fair criticism to have. He's going on this revenge path. But I think it's the same criticism that people had of season 1, which I think is a flawless season. I love season 1 of Last of Us a lot. But people had that same complaint. Like, there's not enough clickers, which was a weird complaint. And then that Joel isn't killing enough people. He's not as ruthless as he is in the game. Who is this Joel who's crying to Tommy about not being able to care for her? Like, I see her in my dreams. Like, the Joel in the game is not saying that line to Tommy. But I liked that. I like Joel being more emotionally vulnerable. And people complain about the finale when Joel just straight up kills a lot of people because he's not expressive enough. Remember that people are saying like Joel's not like, why is Pedro being so cold and emotionless? I think that works because, you know, you want to be grunting when he's just killing people, but I liked seeing that cold exterior from Joel there. I thought Pedro was fantastic. But anyways, I bring that all to say, like, people had similar complaints to season 1 as they have with season 2 with Ellie not killing enough people, and then like they should have brought the dog so Ellie can kill the dog, and like it just feels like, what do I gain here? And another big one is that like Ellie isn't as like dark as she is in the game. They're shying away from Ellie's darkness, but I don't think they are. And there's certain lines from people. You know, I didn't want to have to do this. I'm gonna call somebody out right now. Not call somebody. I don't even know this person.
Josh D. Woodbury.
I don't even know a lot of Josh's like inner complaints. But okay, where's it at? I thought I bookmarked it because it was funny. Maybe I didn't bookmark it. But I'll just go to my Twitter account right now. Because somebody was saying like that Craig is trying to make Ellie more more or less complacent than she is in the show or than in the game. And I'm just like, I don't think that's true. So let me share this real quick. And then guys, we're gonna dive into the episode. I have a lot to say. But it's just like, I've been seeing a lot of complaints, Nathan. It's grating on me, and this is the place where I can talk about it.
Pretty smart. Just let the girl speak.
Yeah.
Let me get it queued up here.
Do you see that?
Yeah.
I can't zoom in any further. So the person says like, what I quoted was like, I woke up this morning even more annoyed that Ellie is saying, I didn't mean to hurt them line. Yes, she did. That's what makes the story so interesting. It's the central motor of all of its ideas and themes and what it's digging into about the ease of vengeance and how radical and difficult forgiveness is. So I'm sitting here like, I don't remember Ellie saying, I didn't mean to hurt them. But I was like, this obviously has to mean in terms of Owen and Mel. So I rewatched the entire episode. I took notes this episode, as I always do. And I get to the very end of the show. And this takes place during Ellie's confrontation with Abby. Abby, you killed all of my friends, and I let you live. And Ellie's hands up. She threw the gun away. She's like, hey, don't hurt Dina. Don't hurt Tommy. Tommy didn't hurt your friends because she thinks Tommy did it. And then Ellie is like, I hurt your friends. I didn't. He said, I didn't mean to hurt them. I didn't mean to hurt them. And I'm like, okay, Ellie said I didn't mean to hurt them. Okay, I was wrong there. But context, Ellie is lying. Ellie is lying. Because in the very first scene of this episode, what does Ellie say? Ellie literally says to Dina earlier about Nora, the only person she had killed up to that point. I made her talk. I thought it'd be hard to do, but it wasn't. I just kept hurting her. That's Ellie admitting to Dina about being able to hurt Nora. And we'll get into this. It's arguably more brutal in the show because we learned what Ellie actually did to Nora, that she didn't just kill Nora, she let her live. But I'll dive into that deeper. But I'm like, Ellie didn't give a fuck about hurting Nora. Obviously, she literally says, I just kept hurting her. I thought it would be hard, but it wasn't. It was easy. That's the Ellie that we know. That's the Ellie that's being honest with Dina. Is that people don't want to give this show, they don't want to, like, you know, dive into this show or read into the dialogue, they're taking one piece of dialogue and being like, oh, this is Ellie being all nice. And then, because people are like, oh, well, this could talk about Owen and Mel. She didn't mean to kill Owen and Mel. And I'm like, it's the same way in the game. And we haven't done this, Nathan. But when we get to these scenes, I might want to rewatch the game scene with you just to pick apart what people are having apparently issues with. Granted, if you're having these issues, that's fine. We can have a conversation about it. But this is my opinion. I don't think there is an issue with the Ellie and Dina scene, and I don't think there is an issue with the Ellie and Mel confrontation. I think it's actually really, really good in what they're accomplishing both ways, especially the Ellie and Dina scene that people don't like. But I'll get into that in a second. But the Ellie and Mel stuff I thought was really, really fantastic. But we'll get to it at the end of this podcast. But like getting into it a little bit here with the Ellie. I'll take this away for a second. Getting into with the Ellie and Mel thing. People are complaining about it, thinking that Ellie isn't as complicit as she is in the game. And I'm like, okay, in the game, Owen fronts her Ellie. Ellie's like, hey, it's word for word, like, hey, give me I have the map. At least in the game, Ellie already has the map. And she's like saying, come over here, point to where Abby is. Owen goes over to Ellie. Instead of pointing to the map, he decides to grapple with Ellie's gun. Ellie ain't having that. In the game, Ellie shoots Owen twice in the stomach. Mel, who's pregnant, by the way, comes over with a knife to attack Abby. To attack Ellie. Ellie dodges the knife, reversal, stabs the knife in Mel's neck. Owen then says like, oh, she's pregnant as he's dying. Ellie's like, what the fuck? Unzips Mel. Boom, she's pregnant. Shock. Tommy,
that's revealed in the moment, right?
It's revealed in the moment. She's shocked. Tommy and Jesse come in a few minutes later. In the show, same thing happens. Owen tries to front Ellie. Ellie catches motherfucker, shoots him in the neck. Idiot. But then Mel is like collateral damage here. And I'm like, in both instances, Ellie does not go to the aquarium to kill Mel and Owen. In both instances. And I think the show is just something that is really impactful. Because in the game, and again, people think they think this game is the Bible. I love it too, guys. But like in the game, if I'm pregnant, if I'm Mel, and she just shoots Owen, am I going to come at this girl with a knife? I'm bringing a knife to a gunfight? Really? It's not happening. I'm just like, hey, that was Owen. I'll tell you where Abby is. Because she was going to tell her where Abby is. Why Mel decides to stab Ellie after she shoots Owen, it's messy. I don't mind it in the game because, like, okay, I can just laugh it off because, like, not laugh it, but like, I can just say Mel's angry because Owen is the father of Mel's baby. And, she just killed Owen. Mel's upset. I'm going to try and kill Ellie. Whatever. But I like it in the show that Mel is pregnant and doesn't want to die. And just like, okay, she was legit going to tell Ellie where Abby is. What does Mel have? Why did Mel want to defend Abby?
Even if you backtrack to the second episode of this season, Mel didn't feel very attached to this mission. Like this.
Exactly. So the show is keeping with its own narrative, which is strong, which is good. And then we get the Mel scene, but we'll talk about it in more detail later. But yeah, I just people complaining that like, but this was one of the more cutthroat and brutal deaths of the game because Ellie physically stabbed her. I'm like, either way, she ends up dead. It doesn't matter whether she stabs her in the neck or shoots her on the side of or stabs her in the neck or shoots her on the side of the neck, like show versus the game. Either way, Mel ends up dead. Ellie killed a child. That's the cut blank period of it all. Like, does it matter? Are people really upset about Ellie not just stabbing Mel? And either way, it's like in the game, I have no choice. Mel is coming at me. So I don't really feel anything until I like, oh, wait, she's pregnant. That's when it's like, oh, shit. But Mel, you're coming at me. I have to defend myself, right? Yeah. And in the show, Ellie doesn't even have to defend herself. She just shoots Owen, and Mel is collateral damage. I think it's really impactful, and the scene afterward elevates it all. But yeah, there were just some complaints, and I'll talk about more complaints later on. But I want to dive into this episode. I think there's a lot more nuance in this finale than people are giving credit for. Spoiler alert, that's the case for every episode, I think. It's like a lot more nuance than people are getting credit for this show. I think this is a fantastic season of television. And yeah. I think, real quick, also, I think one of the most important and fun things of the game versus the show was like Ellie day 1, day 2, day 3 were a lot more. Ellie, not day 1. Ellie day 1 is fine. It's cool. You get the whole Ellie and Dina stuff. But day 2 and day 3 for Ellie are a lot like darker and intense and, eerier in the game than in the show. But I'm cool with that because the game has a lot more people. And I talk about this with the Ellie episode 6 or episode 5 scenario, where it's like Ellie had killed like 30 wolves before even getting to the Nora scene. So, like, theoretically, Ellie's killing of Nora isn't as dark as it is in the show because Ellie has killed already 30 people. What's killing one person? Yeah. Like, what's torturing one person compared to, like, the show where Ellie hadn't done all that, and then she does it, and it leaves a bigger impact, at least for me.
Yeah. I think it's a big impact to show the limited amount of killing.
Yes.
So when Ellie's reflecting in this moment, it's not just like, oh, Ellie killed, this is the first time Ellie's killed somebody, but it's like, it's not a common thing she does. So when she does, with how like gruesome she goes about it, that's why she's like, I thought it would be more difficult, but it was easy, because we also know she's falling into that despair of revenge.
Exactly, which is so fascinating, and I can't wait to dive into that. But yeah, because in the game it's like I killed 1 million people, and then I killed Nora, and Ellie's like shaken by it. I'm like, as a player, I'm like, who's next? No, in the game, and I know, and I'm just like, who's next? That was my perspective. Other people might have a different, because there's a lot of different turning points as a gamer. Like, what part of the game were you like, okay, Ellie, that's enough? Was it after killing Nora? For some people, it was. Like, for Jalen, I asked Jalen before the podcast. He was like, yeah, after Ellie killed Nora, I'm like, Ellie, it's time to go back to Seattle. That's perfectly fair. Ellie doesn't stop. Is it after Ellie kills Owen and Mel? That's what it was for me, where I'm just like, okay, Ellie, it's time to stop. Like, this is a bit too much. And I think the show accomplished that. I think people wanted the show to make Ellie more unlikable prior to Owen and Mel. But even then, I'm just like, I think that's what this finale was for, to showcase like everything. I think the real epitome of Ellie's unlikability, or like Ellie's going on a dark path, kind of for me comes afterwards, but definitely the Owen and Mel stuff, but it comes afterwards with like her conversation with Dina. I'm like, that's definitely oof. And then everything that happens on the Act 4, basically. That's when Ellie's like, okay, what do we do? What are we doing here, Ellie? But anyways, let's dive into the episode. 18 minutes in. I love Isabella Merced. I would say that every week, but she's fantastic. I think this scene with Dina and Jesse is really strong. By the way, I think Jesse is fantastic in this episode. I think young Mazzino, I don't know if it's young Mazzino or young Mazzino, whatever. But I think he really encapsulated Jesse's leadership, his maturity a lot in this episode. His dichotomy with Ellie was portrayed very well, was written very well. And I felt like I got enough to know about him prior to his unfortunate death. Again, arguably more so than the game at points. The game, Jesse is very strong as well. I love Jesse in the game. But there's not a lot of time to because it's a game, there's not a lot of time to like sit down and actually dig into who Jesse really is behind like, I'm here to save you guys and let's go back home. That was kind of like the big thing of it all.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Jesse was great here. The way he's like pouring alcohol over the knife or over the incision, getting ready to like pull the arrow through. Dina's like her worry. And Isabella captured like her fear of dying very well here. Like she's acting so scared, saying like, "I don't want to die. I can't die." I mean, that's so powerful here because, and this was so interesting, right? We flash back to Seattle day one. They're like, "Oh, this is gonna be easy. Look at Seattle. It's so beautiful here." It's like nobody's around. What's going on here? Let's go. Let's chill out. And then it's like the progression is definitely just like, oh wait, this is a lot harder than we expected. And yeah, they entered a war zone. Dina gets shot with an arrow. She's nearly dying here. Jesse catches her with an arrow and says like, or tries to give her alcohol, and she's like, I can't take the alcohol. It's like, bingo. It's really impactful here. I think this whole scene was acted very intense, very frantic, very well done. Do you agree?
Sorry, my connection's catching up.
Oh. Was I lagging ahead?
At the present moment, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's me.
Oh. All good. Are we even now?
Maybe. Yeah, you look fluid now. Maybe. Let's see a second. Maybe. Yeah. Okay. I think we're good. Okay. Yeah. No. I think this was a really impactful scene. I really love seeing Dina's panic of trying to stay alive and also trying to protect her baby, not taking the drink, and that is just like beautiful setup for Jesse's realization in that moment. That is great. Like obviously, like you can't think about it too much because of the pressure of the situation, but it's lingering, and he's gonna be thinking about it all night before he confronts Ellie about it out on the street.
Exactly. It's definitely stuck in his head that he's a smart guy. Like he can tell from that glance that something is wrong with Dina. And I just love that scene entirely. It was a really strong scene between Jesse and Dina. You can just tell how close they are as like friends, as previous lovers. She trusted Jesse to help her. And he comes through. I just think Jesse's a very strong character here. But yeah, I love this upcoming scene with Dina and Ellie. And I think what makes this scene so powerful is the structure of the season where, Dina was there. And I'll set this up by saying like Dina was there instead of Tommy when Joel died. Dina was like a second daughter to Joel. She has every right to be on this vengeance path. She is supporting Ellie. But at the same time, Dina does not have all the information. And this is where we get with all the messiness of these characters, the nuance that people thought really wasn't there. And this is a conversation that, again, I love the game. I don't know if this is in the game or not. When Ellie tells Dina about why Joel did what he did. Do you remember this scene?
I was gonna ask you because I don't. I was like, is that there?
And again, we can watch the Ellie and Dina scene after this in a second.
Buckle down for a 6-hour commentary of the cutscene.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't
full starter finish.
There's like a 3-minute whatever cutscene between Dina and Ellie, and I love that scene from the game, and I love what this scene accomplishes as well. The same thing we talked about last week with like the whole bench scene that I thought was really strong on both ends. But I preface to say that Dina has a strong connection with Joel, and she also told Ellie in episode 4. Yeah, in episode 4, or was it 5? 4 or 5, one of them.
4.
I think it was 5 actually. The conversation of Dina telling Ellie that like if something happened to my family, and if my family was like, if my mom, my sister had gotten killed, which they did, and I knew who did it, and they went away, I would scour the earth looking for him. I don't care what he did. I would try to get revenge. So don't tell me, Ellie, about like staying back, because I like If you want me to stay, I'll stay. If you want me to go, I'll go. Whatever. That's her like justification for being here. And I thought that was a very strong Dina scene. Giving Dina some more agency in her connection to Ellie. And then I was gonna say something, but I'll get to it in a second. But on top of that, Dina, having said that, is also on this path to support Ellie on this vengeance path. But again, Dina doesn't have a lot of the information. She doesn't know why Ellie is. She doesn't know why these people killed Joel. She doesn't care. She wants to find and kill Abby. She supports that from Ellie, the person that she loves. But the person that she loves is lying to her, lying through omission, per se, by not telling her idea of why these people killed Joel. And it's the same way from the game. Because in the game, Dina straight up asked Ellie, like, do you know what's going on here? It's Saturday 1. They're riding on the horse, and Ellie's like, I don't know who they could be anybody. But at that point, Ellie already knew. Like, Ellie already knew, can probably kind of assume, like, what went down and why they did what they did. And that's why the scene of Ellie saying, like, I know, to Nora is a shock, because we're like, oh, wow. You know why they killed Joel, and you're still on this revenge path. Okay, it's just because of your love of Joel. I get it now. Well, otherwise, it was just like, okay, Ellie doesn't know why they killed Joel, and she wants to kill them. But she does understand, like, the awful thing that Joel did, and she still was initially mad at him, but still loves him enough to go on this whole dark revenge path. It creates a kind of, like, weird feeling for the audience. And it should create a weird feeling for Dina as well, because Dina is now, similar to us, getting told that information. So I want to break this down here, because in the game, my opinion, Dina comforts Ellie after she commits this raw, violent act of killing Nora. Ellie is not remorseful, similar to the show. Ellie is not remorseful, but at the same time, doesn't want to lose Dina. She says, literally to Dina, I don't want to lose you in the game. And Dina's purpose in the game is, she puts her arms around Ellie, which I saw people were upset about, like, hey, Dina didn't hug Ellie. I'm like, okay, whatever. But Dina hugs Ellie and, like, cares for her and warms her up. But in here I go, guys. It's like,
here I go.
Here I go. But
20 minutes in, here you go.
I don't think Dina, you can shoot me, in the game is a super compelling character. Do I love Dina in the game? Yes. But you're supposed to. The game doesn't give you any reason to not love Dina. Because Dina's purpose in the game is to showcase warmth and the other direction for Ellie while she's on this dark path.
Right.
We literally just leave Dina in the theater for, like, multiple times. Like, she's not there at all in Seattle Day 2. She's not there at all in Seattle Day 3. We just leave her in the theater. But Dina's purpose in the game is to showcase that warmth, that other direction of, if you stop going, you can stay with this awesome, beautiful, great person. But I like this show giving us more layers to why Dina wants to be with Ellie, why Dina wants to go on this mission, her connection with Joel, we learned in episode 1, her past with her, her sisters, and her own reason for continuing this journey and going on the journey in day 2 with Ellie, even though she is pregnant. I like that a lot. And I like what we get here. We get a bit of a showcase of Dina's wavering, the early onset of her wavering and her connection with Ellie, and with the mission. I think that's just very, very strong, rather than just like, I'm here to hug and comfort Ellie during this time of darkness. It works well in the game. I love that scene in the game. But I think this show, Dina, is just much more layered than Dina in the game. And again, it's not a super bad thing. The game is doing a lot more than the show in terms of gameplay. The narrative is much more, longer or whatever. But like, two different sides of the coin here. But I just like Dina in the show, what I'm receiving, the nuance I'm receiving more so than the game. You get more nuance when you get to like, the Dina farm confrontation. That's great Dina shit.
Yeah.
But that's just my hot take. And it helps that Isabella Marsad is just fucking fantastic in every line. And it's just like, it elevates the material. Not that the Dina actress isn't great in the game, because she really, really is. I think Shannon is her name. She's excellent. I love her. I follow her Twitch stream sometimes. But yeah, that's just my cup of tea before I dive even deeper here.
Hey, cup of tea. Well, yeah, I mean, I think I would have to agree. I like what Dina is to Ellie in the game. And yeah, Dina's a very likable person, obviously, but she's not super explored. I think there's a similar thing with that with Jesse, I suppose. It's like I
agree.
I like who Jesse is as an individual and who he is to Ellie. Like they all serve narratively being the good people that are still in Ellie's life that can sway her to a better path, not this dark spiral that she's going to be going down. And they're even more like in depth in the show. Like we said, like we're going to be talking about Jesse. But yeah, Dina is so layered. She's so connected with not just Ellie, but like we literally kick off with her and Joel. I think pretty sure before even her and Ellie.
Yes.
And so that's like a great driving motivation for being so level-minded with where Ellie is. Even to that point, like with that conversation, it's kind of like even when Ellie starts questioning like the situation because Dina's pregnant and everything, it's like maybe we shouldn't be doing this, maybe we should go back. And then Dina's the one to double down. It's like, no, we're gonna go forward and we're gonna get these people. Which is gonna be a full 180 to where she leads. But the fact that they do plant that seed of realizing what Joel has done is going to be the antithesis that leads Dina to the point of view on the farm where they try to break down what they're going to be, what Ellie's about to do, and how she doesn't want her to fall into the. Obviously, Joel's a great person, but also not. And if Ellie also falls down that path, then we're not sure what comes next, which is why when Ellie does eventually return to the farm, it's empty.
Exactly. We have to get to that point. I think the show is doing a good job of, like you said, sowing seeds of Dina's wavering prior to that, because you don't fully see that in the game. At least from Dina's perspective, the show lingering on Dina's like look that she gives Ellie is very good here. And there's a lot of scenes that go in. There's a lot of things that go into this as well here. Continuing on, in the show, Ellie is not remorseful at all. The violence, but she's obviously shaken up by it, right? She's shaken up by it still. She's getting cared for by Dina, or she's caring for Dina initially, because Dina, unlike the game, Dina got shot. But I like it where even though she did get hit with the arrow, Dina is still like taking notice of Ellie's blood and her wounds, and it's like limping to heal her.
It's such a great codependent relationship.
100%. I really like that aspect of it. She's not just like sitting there again, just waiting for Ellie to come. And then Ellie says, okay, so I found Nora. She only said 2 words, whale and wheel. I don't know what that means. She was infected at this point, so she could have just been making up words. I tortured her, basically. And here's the dialogue. I made her talk, and I said this earlier with the tweet, but I made her talk. I thought it'd be harder to do, but it wasn't. It was easy. I just kept hurting her. And Dina's like, did you kill her? I left her there. She was almost infected. And then that's just even worse. Because let's backpedal, guys. Ellie, in episode 5, goes to the hospital, sees Leon, the son of the Asian woman. And what's he doing? He's coughing up, he's breathing in air and breathing out spores. It's very sickening, chilling imagery. The show did a great job of like showcasing the depths of the introduction of the spores and how gross and unsettling it is to just be living off of that with death not in sight, right? Like
Yeah,
it's very dark.
it's like, I mean, our modern day is like people spread viral bacteria all the time and you can't see it, but the fact that you can see that sickness spreading so freely is unsettling.
Is extremely unsettling. What does Ellie do? She looked at the guy and is just like she doesn't bask in it, but she understands how dark it is that that state of living. So what does she do with Nora? As she tells Dina, she left Nora to stay infected. That's arguably more sick than just killing Nora with the pipe that she had in her hand. She could have just killed Nora then and there. Done. I did you a service. You're dead. That's what happened in the game. She just kills Nora, presumably, I think.
That's the frightening nature of like that depiction of seeing Leon is like, are they still alive, conscious and paralyzed into this existence until something blows them up?
Right? That's what's so frightening about it. And for Ellie to say, like, I kept Nora alive down there in that kind of state, that's extremely chilling. It's extremely dark, and it goes to the depravity of what Ellie is going down to. And again, she says, I didn't mind it. What did she say? I thought it'd be hard to do, but it wasn't. It was easy. I mean, that's kind of sick, Ellie. Maybe she got what she deserved, Nora says. But maybe she didn't. So this is where Dina gets told by Ellie about what Joel did. There was a Salt Lake hospital. There's a lot of fireflies. They had a cure. They found out. And that's why I'm glad they didn't have this immunity conversation in episode 4. Because like they go straight to the sex scene. Ellie or Dina figures out that Ellie didn't die, jump to sex scene. I saw some people criticizing, like, shouldn't Dina have more questions about Ellie's immunity? Sure, that would make sense. But I didn't mind it because in the heat of the moment, hormones.
She's just happy the woman she loves is alive.
Exactly, that's what we said. So I didn't mind it there. And I like the show is still giving us that conversation that kind of should be happening. Like, you figure out your lover is immune, there's a world of questions that should be coming out of that. Like, okay, you're immune. Can that change anything? Dina didn't necessarily ask these questions, but I like the show is giving us Ellie telling Dina these things. So Ellie tells Dina about the immunity, about how there could have been a cure, but to get the cure, I would have had to die. Joel understood that, and that's why he killed every single person in the hospital. Beautifully portrayed by Isabella here. I mean, we get a great look, right, of comforting her, and then like a slow, like the mask falls off a little bit, and Dina kind of like tilts her head, and is just like, oh, okay, we need to go home. And I'm like, this is powerful shit here, because in the moment, I'm like. And this is where the messiness of the show comes in here, right? Beautiful, good messiness. Because Dina, same one who just said, like, I don't care what happened. I am scouring the earth if my family was killed. I am with you, Ellie. She's now saying, let's go home. Oh, yeah. And I think that works. That reversal is earned, and it works because I just got shot with a fucking arrow. I nearly died. Not just me, my child and I almost died by some random scar on some random island, or on Seattle. And then on top of nearly dying, Ellie, the girl that she loves, just revealed that she was lying through omission. So now Dina is going through the same thing that Ellie went through when she was confronted with the truth as well, which is that wavering of their connection, this potential sabotaging of their relationship. I think that's at least what Ellie is thinking. As revealed in the podcast after the episode, Bella explains how Ellie is thinking, like, she wants to unburden herself, and she's telling Dina these things and is ready to face the repercussions of possibly losing that relationship with Dina. Luckily, fast forward, we get to the scene in the morning. Dina still likes Ellie. She's given her a love bracelet, basically. But the connection to the mission is definitely severed, which I think is very impactful.
Yeah, it's a full spectrum of emotions to process. I mean, I think the best reply that Dina could come up with is we need to go home, because she needs to process her, not only like the ride back, but I think also some time in Jackson. It was just like, okay, well, wow. Like, when you see the full perspective of like, these people hurt Joel, but they did it because he took away the cure for the planet potentially. And yeah, killed personal person, but like, again, Joel altered the course of probably humankind if the cure would have worked. And that's enough to like weigh on like, oh my god, yeah, wow. Like, if there was to be a certified reason for them to do that to Joel, that would be the one. But at the same time, there's the imbalance within Dina of like, but the Joel I knew, I love, I never saw him like that. So that's just imprinted on me. And also I love Ellie and I feel what she's feeling, and that's imprinted on me too, and our future forward. So it's that like tug of war, which is why like, okay, well, we need to go home. We need to process.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I think that does shift in Dina, especially towards the, you know, wanting Ellie to be the better things they remember Joel for, and not this dark thing that is horrifying to imagine.
And that's what's so intriguing here is the Joel factor. Because again, I mentioned earlier how this scene is elevated by what we got with the flashbacks in episode 6. Contrary to the game, we didn't get all the flashbacks prior to this scene. But this scene works even more because we got all the flashbacks that are necessary to understand the depths of this reveal, where Joel Joel severed his relationship to Ellie by lying to her. You swore, you promised. He lied to her. Just like Ellie is lying or had lied to Dina before this moment, before unburdening himself, similar to how Joel had to unburden himself to Ellie, about what really happened. And, Ellie says, I might be able to forgive you. It's going to work out some time. But for Joel, the beauty about this is that like Joel says he understands he did wrong about like killing all the people at the hospital. He did wrong by Ellie by lying to her. And what did he say last week? I hope you do a little bit better than me. And I think what's so impactful about getting that line and then this scene is that Ellie obviously isn't doing better than Joel.
Right.
And it recontextualizes everything that you've gotten up to this point, killing Nora, what is to come. She's not doing better than Joel. She's doing worse. She had lied to Dina about why they're truly there in Seattle, saying like, I don't know what happened. I'm just here to kill Abby. She lied to Dina. And then and this is getting into what we're getting into with Jesse, but the idea of community and selfish love. Joel's love was primarily about protection. What did we learn last week? Joel is a protector of Tommy initially when they were kids, and then of Ellie, of Sarah, of course, and then it was Ellie. His love is a protection kind of love. Why did he murder everybody in the hospital? Was it out of revenge? No. It was out of his desire to protect his community of one, Ellie. This desire to, his love was full on about like that protective love. If anything happens to her, I will kill everybody that gets in the way. Ellie is worse. Sorry?
Yeah, one of which that he doubles down even in his final day of like, and I would do it again.
And he would do it again. Exactly. And he admits that he was wrong about that. At least, at the time, but he'll do it again. But he's like, all this lying and stuff, I hope you do a little bit better than me. Ellie lies to Dina about what they're really there. And then her revenge quest isn't about protection. You can't protect somebody that's already dead. Her love is a selfish love purely on revenge. I need to kill Abby because I need to kill Abby and everyone that got in my way because they killed the person that was just close to me after the fact. And that's what makes The Last of Us Part 2 and the story in season 2 so interesting, is because she's following in Joel's footsteps, but also with an Ellie tinge to it. Gone is the protective love, and now is this radical, selfish desire for love that isn't necessarily wrong, but you better be prepared to face the consequences of this, Ellie, in killing Nora and in the Mel and Owen of it all. Like, this is what your love is. The decision that you're making regarding your love, that's where it gets you. And it starts with Dina. Where's the love? And it starts with Dina here. And I think it's just all wrapped up into a beautiful, messy, nuanced portrayal of love and revenge that is already happening, again, with this Dina and Ellie scene. It's not just them comforting each other. It's the unburdening of love and relationships and what you do with those relationships. And it's very impactful, very, very strong. So again, it starts the fracturing of the relationship. I already mentioned the Joel parallel. And then, Jesse, we see Jesse in the next morning giving some bullets to Ellie. Ellie's off, on Jesse's bad side here. But then Dina is not upset about Ellie. She gives her the friendship bracelet, basically. And then Ellie walks away. At this point in the story, Ellie is fully on board to just, not on board, but she is willing to just go save Tommy. That is their mission. And then presumably go back home because she thinks the whale in the wheel was not good information. Spoiler alert: torturing isn't good, guys. You don't really get accurate information from torturing a lot of the time. Luckily, she did here, but Anyways, I love this Ellie and Jesse dynamic. I think that was my favorite part of the episode. Was just diving into the Ellie and Jesse confrontation, their differences, their discrepancies about their communities. And I think that it ties into what is so thematically rich about this season is the idea of community. And I go back to me again defending the whole Jackson raid, which I thought was really well done in episode 2. Because I think this show is giving us this aspect of community being so important to the story of part 2 and of season 2 into season 3, of course, because the idea of community is not going to stop when we get to Abby and her quest. But in episode 2 we get the confrontation of Joel dealing with the attack on Jackson, which is his community, and the people of the WLF attacking Joel because of what they did to their community, the Fireflies. It's just the whole aspect of the attack on one's community and where it comes from. And in season 2, we're also learning about how these communities react to violence. How does Jackson react to violence? Through democracy. My Kenobi voice.
It's a Kenobi. Democracy.
It's republic.
Your new empire.
But and they take a vote, whatever, which we'll get to with the whole vote scenario. They take a vote, they have their own town hall meeting. That's Jackson for you. How do the WLF respond to violence? Well, they massacre Fedra. As we saw Isaac throw a grenade in the whole Fedra truck. And they massacre Fedra. And what do they become? The next Fedra, basically. They decide to torture the Scars. How do the Scars react to violence? Well, some of them decide to leave, as we saw with the little girl and her dad in episode 3, sorry. But then we also see the Scars reacting to violence as well. Even the children of the Scars, falling into religion and using religion as an excuse to gut and kill children from the wolves and then just everyday people. It's a cycle of violence within all these communities, and it stems from personal relationships with Ellie and Abby, but also it just gets macro and gets bigger. And I love how that idea is percolating and how it gets deeper when we get into with Ellie and Jesse as well. It's just also fascinating.
Yeah, it's a very intense situation where I feel it's tricky to just fully say Jesse's 100% right about the not our war, because you can see cycle and you just like stand to the side.
Mm.
But when you see the brutality from both sides, whether it is like the humiliating, like stripping and mutilation of the scars, or the disembowelment that the scars do to the wolves, they're both gruesome sets of ending one another. And
Yes.
it's like, oh my god! But then you also have to imagine there has to be like the ones that are that their sides are fighting for, just the individual civilians who are just. There's got to be some that are not of the mindset to be so gruesome, that are probably a lot more like peaceful minded and wouldn't go so far.
And you get that with characters like Owen,
Yeah,
who
yeah,
we'll get to him in season 3, but spoiler alert for the game. Owen is kind of like jaded by the time we see him at this stage of his life. He's jaded and he doesn't want to continue this anymore. We don't know if that Owen from the game is continuing with season 3. They might change some things, but given what we see with Owen here, the way he was connected with Abby, I feel like that Owen is sticking around.
yeah.
But anyways,
But also,
yeah,
like, I would think like Lev as well probably wouldn't be how the other scars are.
Lev is totally not Lev and Yara. They're not like the other scars. Lev was able to, basically transition within the scars, which was looked down upon. They literally said, "Let's kill Lev." The mom nearly killed Lev. Wild. And by the way, I think we will get that scene because in the game, I don't think we see Lev's mom kill her. But like, or them, we don't see that happen. But like, Abby comes in to save Lev. But I have a feeling the show might show us the Lev mom confrontation that we didn't get to see.
Yeah, the show's been very good at expanding small details.
And one of the bigger expansions I wanted in season 3 is more Isaac and Abby, which we'll get to with the Abby confrontation or the Isaac scene in this episode. But like, it just made me even more excited to see more Isaac and Abby. But I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, I like this whole Jesse notion here. And like you said, Jesse isn't always right here, but in contrast to Ellie, who is obviously wrong in her thinking, it does offer Jesse being like this moral compass. And although he is like slightly flawed, you can also look at it and be like, okay, what he's saying is kind of close to how Joel would look at it as well in terms of when they get to like in that rain scene. But so before that, Jesse confronts Ellie about Dina's pregnancy, which we kind of already knew. Jesse kind of gets that soft confirmation, the hard confirmation from Ellie, which was very funny. We get the line, "I'm a father," which means I can't die, which is one of those lines that's like in your nose, but it worked for me. I don't know. Did that work for you when he says like, "I'm a father now, I can't die"?
Yeah, I think I didn't mind it. I think it sold on his intense conviction of the situation, who he is, and the importance he realized, the weight of his reality that has been thrust upon him overnight, and the fact that he even says himself that he puts others before himself. This is like the biggest example of needing to do that. And he's looking out. He's always had to look out for the safety of everybody, but now it's like even more personal. Yes. So even though the gamer side that's experienced, realize what's coming, it doesn't feel like on your nose, like, get ready, wink, wink. It feels like, this just hurts all the more because I've seen how good of a person Jesse is. I feel even more expanded on his character with this show, that knowing what's to come hurts even more. It's like watching Andor. I'm like, oh man, Cassian's such a great individual. I want the best for him, but I know Rogue One is around the corner.
Yes, exactly. And even though he's saying like, "I'm here for my community, I can't die," he's angry with Ellie. Even though he's angry at her, what makes Jesse such a compelling character is that he's willing to risk his life. He risked his life in episode 4, going in there, or 5, going in there and saving Dina and Ellie when they nearly died. He nearly could have died as well, but he comes in there to save Dina, to save Ellie. And then like he came to Seattle to save them. Like, he's angry, but like he's risking his life to save them. So like Ellie being mad at Jesse, it's like, well, Jesse still came here to save you, which is very interesting.
The full perspective of Jesse is really interesting, especially like when you're watching
Yeah.
the scenes with him and Ellie. Like, at that start, them being paired on the reconnaissance. Ultimately, when you look at it, like Ellie was hurt from her run-in with Abby's crew enough to where she was comatose. After like needing some medical attention, Jesse was the one to find her in a time to be able to get her back there, to get treatment. Helped her there. He voted. He gave the pep talk of writing out her thoughts for the council meeting because he genuinely wanted to hear a good argument for it. And I believe Ellie
That's a
gave
good
as good
point.
as and
Yeah.
I believe Ellie gave as good as a one that she could have. And I was even like, wow, that is a very mature response for Ellie. But I think Jesse just knows Ellie fundamentally, that he knows it is for the best to not vote yes for her, and which is honestly like a great parallel as well. When like later in this episode, he calls her out for acting on her own best interest.
Selfish.
Dina almost kind of says a similar thing as well. Like when they are in Joel's house and she starts to give the info about Abby, like Dina withheld that because she knew Ellie would have immediately ran right in for it.
Yes, great point. I forgot about that. The reason that she held off for like because she knew right when it happened. It's been like 3 months, and now he's like, well, it's been 3 months. Yeah, because I told you earlier, you would have just ran off by yourself with no information, whatever.
Which she
That's
was
a great
about to
point,
do that night as well. Before Dina was like, "What are you doing?
right?
Don't wear those boots." Like,
So Dina
uh,
and Jesse both know who Ellie is fundamentally, which makes them all more compelling characters when they go against Ellie here. When they offer a different opinion than Ellie. When Ellie is now challenged across her beliefs, how does she react? And we see her react very emotionally and self-righteously, in a way that like I can't fully agree with, but I still support because I understand what she went through. That's the
yeah,
beauty of the game and of the show. It's just that like Ellie is such a complex character where it's like I fully understand what you went through. I support that, but at the same time, Jesse isn't wrong either.
yeah.
It's very fascinating.
It's a fascinating perspective for a character, for Ellie to be basically given two angels on both shoulders, no demon on the shoulder, but because of what she went through, Ellie has that corruption nonetheless.
Yeah, she has two angels on her shoulder, but she's choosing the devil, which is inside of herself. Not that Ellie is a horrible devil-like person, no, but her love, her selfish desire for love, is going down a darker path than either Joel, Jesse, or Dina could ever predicted.
Yeah,
And is causing a lot of unfortunate consequences that nobody can ever predict. It's also great.
mm-hmm.
Ellie and Jesse running to the Scar, running away from WLF. I was admittedly weirded out with Ellie's uh, what's it called? Insistence to go save the boy. I'm like, would Ellie do that?
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it kind of works for me. In the show, Nina Lopez, the director, commented that like Ellie sees herself in the boy, where she was the boy, then Joel was the one to to go save her.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fully see that, but like at least in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but overall, it's a fine scene that cements what we just been talking about, the whole aspect of the community. Jesse's
Yeah,
like, we're not going to go save the Scar kid because I need to worry about myself. I need to go save Tommy. It's 2-on-6. If you go down, like it's more of a rationality kind of
mm-hmm.
thing thinking, and that rationality can be seen, at least by Ellie, as like bleak and dark. Like you're going to risk somebody's death, a kid's death, just because rationally speaking, you're just it's risky, and it's not our war. It's their
Mm-hmm.
war. It's not our war. We have to go save Tommy. I'm a father now, etc. Ellie's thinking
Yeah,
is like you just risk some kid's life. Like why are we doing this? Like we should be in. We know that's also kind of who Ellie is. To be fair, because she's also a very violent person. She sees somebody getting wrong, she's gonna fight like hell. But at
yeah,
the same time, that scene did kind of. I was like, why is Ellie doing that in the first place? Ellie kind of, but whatever. Um, but then yeah, like you said, the bookstore scene is just really great. really gave shit between Jesse and Ellie here.
Yeah.
Because
Ellie, side note, Ellie picks a book that I had as a kid as well. I was like,
oh
what?
no way, what was it called? The Monster or something book?
The monster at the end of this book is basically a Sesame Street book with Grover and Oscar the Grouch. But like I remember I had that, but like she opened the pages, I was like, I know those pages. I was a child reading.
Ellie's father tendencies coming out there. It's like, oh, I can give my my child that book, which is kind of sweet. Like we see Ellie's parental, aspect coming out. Even though at the same time, in a few minutes, we're going to see Ellie's parental side get tossed away in the pursuit of vengeance.
I love that Jesse
so
sees
good.
that choice too, and is like, "That's a good one. I should have thought of that."
Yeah, I should have done that too. And we get a great Jesse line here that I was hoping that we would get, but he says it here. He says, "I love Dina, but not the way that you do." It was a great line. It's short, sweet, and it's just like, I love Dina, not the way that you do. My love is different from your love. And he didn't say that, but like he kind of goes into that where he says, he tells her a story about a group from Alberta who was on their way to Mexico. There's this family. Ellie's like, oh, I knew they traded some bullshit painting.
I think it's the same one that gave Joel the coffee.
Oh, maybe is it?
I think so. In that talk, their final talk on the porch, I think he said those. Joel brought up that same group that came through, and that he traded the coffee for.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So and Jesse says there was a girl with them. She sold paintings. He said he bought the paintings because he liked her.
All four of them.
All four of them, and he was kind of in love with her. And
is there currency in this world?
I guess just trading, meat, clothes, shit. And Ellie was like, how was it? And he's like, it was the best 2 weeks of my life. And he didn't go away with them, even though the girl offered. She couldn't stay.
And Jesse wanted to.
Jesse wanted to. But his love was for his community. His community also loved Jesse. He wanted to reciprocate that love by being their leader, basically. He says he's trying to be a leader. They raised me. They expect a lot from me. Basically, Ellie, I'm putting others before myself. And this gets Ellie upset, saying like, oh, you think you're all, high and mighty, all because, you're putting others before yourself. He's like, well, if I went off to Mexico, who would have saved your ass in Seattle? And I'm just like, oof. That is a great retort. Ellie was near death there. Right? It's fascinating because Ellie's pursuit of her love, her idea of putting herself forward. Again, this whole revenge Seattle quest is her selfish desire to seek vengeance over somebody who she lost, Joel. By pursuing this, she nearly died. And if Jesse was to pursue his selfish love, he wouldn't have been in Seattle to save Ellie. It's all about the decisions you make regarding your relationships in this show. Jesse's decision was to stay in Jackson to better his community. Ellie lost her community, and she's going down a darker path.
Yeah, it makes me feel so bad for Jesse in the sense of like, I mean, I respect what he's doing of like standing for his community. It's what he was taught. It's implemented in him. But it makes you like think about the idea that he was, he has to be like that upstanding person for the community, that leader type. Even
moral
like
center,
even Dina reflecting like back to that 10 scene, reflecting on her and Jesse is like, like Jesse's like a great person, but he's such like a stickler for the rules, and he's he is that individual, and it makes you like think about the idea of like if he was able to like run off with this girl that he met and like be free with her, he wouldn't have those responsibilities, and he could probably be a lot more of a free spirit, a more individualized person. And then if you like stop to think of the crushing reality of like, I imagine like if he were to like try to bring that up to the people he would be leaving behind at Jackson, they'd probably give him shit like, this girl you've only known for 2 weeks, you're just gonna leave us all behind. They probably would say that shit like that, even if he truly like felt in his heart that he would feel fulfilled doing this. A conversation like that would just kind of like shatter that and make him fall right back into what he's already existing in, and that just kind of ultimately makes Jesse a tragic character in a sense, all the way up to the end here.
Exactly, and his decision not to go with the girl it's both tragic and it's what makes Jesse Jesse. He is that person who would put others before himself. He would sacrifice his own love for the love of others, for the love of community that he was raised in.
He's too good for us.
He is too good for us. Like he was raised and taken care of, presumably by the sounds of things, by Jackson, the people of Jackson. I don't know if he's an orphan or anything like that, but like you get the sense that he deeply cares and respects this town a lot, which elevates a lot of his scenes after the attack of him just like, you know, being in there down and dirty, trying to save the city, trying to rebuild.
I mean, if he didn't go scouting with Ellie, I imagine if he was like on the front lines with Tommy, like he would have been probably as equally.
Exactly. Yeah, he would have been equally on the front lines, right what you said. But then, they get a phone call, that pause after he says, like, you would have died, Ellie, if I didn't come to Seattle. We get a radio, reports the WLF are pinned down by a sniper. I started clapping. I'm like, okay, so they're keeping that aspect of the storyline of Sniper Tommy pinning down some WLF. Spoilers for the game. But at this moment, Manny and Abby are pinned down by Tommy here. Tommy kills Manny in this sequence, which is funny because Isaac later on is like, we have a lot of Mannys. If we have Manny, it's like, we don't have Manny actually. Manny's dead by the time you guys are talking. But Daniel Ramirez, we'll see you next season. So that scene just got me really giddy because I love Sniper Tommy. And that Tommy and Abby conversation is going to be very interesting if we get that in season 3. I'm very curious to see how that goes. But this is great. This whole conversation is amazing. I love this argument scene here because Ellie is very wrong and right in a lot of points. It's very interesting. So they get on top of the bookstore. They eye the gunshots. They're like, okay, we have to go right to go save Tommy. As she's seeing that, Ellie's addiction to violence, Ellie's addiction to revenge, it starts rising up again. At this point, she's willing to go to Tommy, but she sees the whale on the aquarium. She sees the wheel, the carousel, and she's like, boom. She's what is he? What is he, Nathan? What is he? What is he?
She's wow. She's activated.
She's activated, everybody, and she immediately goes into like that. There it is. We got to go kill Abby. This whole, and again, that's what the beauty of Bella Ramsey's performance in this episode is, that like she is like putting on this air of like, okay, I'm willing to go save Tommy, but she's obviously upset. Which is why I liked I like her expressions early on in the season when people are saying like, oh, I want Ellie to be more dour and depressed. It's like, I like that she's not depressed around Dina because she's putting on a mask, because obviously she's not fully happy. She's dejected and super upset, as we see when she's with Nora. Like, that's the true Ellie. And when we see her with Mel and Owen, like, that's the true Ellie. She's like, in pursuit of like anger. But anyways, and then Tommy's like, or Jesse's like, Tommy's down there getting pinned. And at first, Ellie is like, we don't know that's him. Like, yeah, you do, Ellie. Yeah, you do. I'm Jesse. I'm like, get out of here, Ellie. It's like, and then second of all, she's like, okay, fine. She backpedals. She's like, okay, maybe,
but also doesn't, because she's like, yeah, well, he'll pin them down,
right? Yeah. He says like, oh well, he's pinning them down, and Jesse's like,
they call for backup.
I just got the radio. They're calling for backup.
Then he'll pin down more. Ellie.
It's like, Ellie, what are you doing here? So yeah, like if you're an audience member, you're fully on board with Jesse being like, okay, Ellie, you're definitely in the wrong here. But I think the show is doing a good job here.
Even if you're of the perspective, which like, basically the season is where it's, oh man, somebody random came over and killed Joel, even though we have their motives, like they killed Joel. We want revenge, like Ellie does.
Yes.
But then, you see the perspective of Ellie taking said revenge, especially like the justification of leaving Tommy alone. And it's like,
Ellie. Like
at what cost?
At what cost? Because not only is, again, this is the same Ellie that, like, as a parent figure, was picking up a book 5 minutes earlier. She is reminding us that, she is a father. She does have something to worry about here for the future. But what does she do? She forgoes Tommy. She forgoes Jesse, another parental figure for her girlfriend, and Jesse. And then forgoes Dina. Why? How does she forgo Dina? But by risking Ellie's own life, she's risking, her child being without a father. Ellie could have died. Ellie was about to die a few minutes later, and we'll get to that in Scar Island. So it's like, like Ellie, this path is not good for you. But it's funny here because then she says, like, to Jesse, if 3 more people voted with us, you'll be coming along with me. And Jesse's like, where's the mic so I can drop it? He's like, I voted no.
It is.
What happened was, and Ellie's like, wait, you voted no? I love her reaction. And he's just like, wow. He's like, and then long story short, he says, like, it was selfish. He's like, it was selfish and it was never going to work. It wasn't good for the community. And this one, Bella Ramsey fucking rocks. She's like, fuck the community. I can feel her anger in her, and I get it at this point. This is the small part I get it, where she's like, fuck the community. You let a kid die today, and why? Because he wasn't in your community. My community was beaten to death right in front of me while I was forced to fucking watch. And I'm like, whoa, like, I get it. Like, you let a kid die, that's a part of your community, your prerogative, your community is allowing the death of another innocent person. Again, the whole point of Scar Island is to showcase that, like, even the kids aren't innocent. But even it's like, we kind of already knew that. But anyways, and that's what's so like, I get this part of Ellie's argument. I get it's like, fuck the community. My community is beaten to death. That's why I'm on this mission. I get that from a personal perspective. But again, Jesse's thing is all based on rational thinking and his personal rational thinking on top of his personal defense of his own community, which is at this point is Dina now and his child now. And he can't risk his life going after somebody else's selfish love, selfish revenge. Again, this continues the notion from season 1 of Joel's selfishness Joel's love being also, selfish enough to wipe out an entire hospital, and he reaped the consequences, which was his own death. But unlike Joel, who couldn't be saved, Ellie was saved by Jesse, and by a lot of other circumstances. And despite Ellie being saved, unlike Joel, Ellie wants to continue down this path, which makes it all the more intriguing and dark and irresponsible. Which is, again, as I'm talking about it, like, this is where I don't get people complaining about the show making Ellie a lot less rootable, because, like, a lot of these moments, I'm just like, as we're talking about it, like, I'm not rooting for Ellie at this point. Right. You have a daughter now. It's like, I understand it. You can understand it, but not be like, root for it. I'm just having that similar experience that I had personally in the game at this moment. And anyways, I love that performance from Bella Ramsey. My community was beaten to death right in front of me while I was forced to fucking watch. There's a big beat there, and Jesse's like, I really hope you make it. It's a great scene. It's a great, it kind of the similar dialogue from the game, except of course the game doesn't mention the voting part. But Ellie does say in the game, I think, like, I saved you last time, I can't save you again. because in the game, Ellie had saved Jesse earlier on in day 2, Seattle. Didn't happen this time. The roles were reversed. But the aspect of I hope you make it just hits differently in the show than in the game, both for different and great reasons. In the show here, Jesse is kind of like exhausted, at least in my opinion. Jesse's kind of exhausted with Ellie's thinking. He's like, okay, this is clearly your line of thinking. I can't sway you here. I really hope you make it. I think he's genuinely like, I hope you make it, but also he's kind of pissed off at the same time. It's a great line delivery.
I think it's a big like disappointment of his mindset. He sees Ellie's not gonna stop this. She's not gonna falter from her need for the revenge. So he just has to accept it, and he's thinking like, well, I have to do what I need to do. I need to go help Tommy. I need to help my community, those who want the help. So yeah, he cares about Ellie. He does. That's made very clear, especially by the final scene. But yeah, it's just okay. I need to do this, but I hope you make it. I hope you stay alive.
So Ellie goes to the docks, but I want to tread back because he skipped over the Isaac scene. Where is it at? There we go. This conversation I liked. I see some people saying they didn't like it. It was a bit clunky. I have one line that I just didn't really like, but otherwise I kind of liked this scene at Costco with Isaac and the wolves and the Asian captain. I forget her name.
Park?
What?
Last name Park, right?
Park, yeah, last name Park. Yes. Because she lost her son, Leon Park. But yeah, Mrs. Park here confronts Isaac. Isaac is very nervous about the upcoming attack. She mentions how a lot of other people are, scared. He's like, they should be. She mentions how the storm is a convergence zone. This is the title of the episode. And it is a storm is a convergence zone. It's a perfect convergence for the Scars and the Wolves as they converge at night for the very last time, presumably. And then you get Ellie and Abby also converging during the stormy night. Very good stuff here. But yeah, it also is an intriguing look. It does two things here, or multiple things. We're getting teases about Abby. Up to this point, we're like, Abby is this, from Ellie's perspective, this stone cold killer. And even from our perspective, is like, she was with the Salt Lake Firefly crew, but we don't really know who Abby is as a person at this point. So this conversation is very intriguing on like delivering to us who Abby kind of is. She's not just somebody that just randomly killed Joel because of what happened to the Fireflies. She is now, a couple months later, or at least she had been either way, a leader in the Firefly community, which kind of reflects off of what we just learned about Jesse as well, because Jesse's being set up as a leader of the Jackson crew. Abby is kind of like the leader of the of the Wolves crew now, presumably, because he says like the reason we need her is that probably you and probably me are not going to be alive in the morning. If we do die, who's going to lead us? And he mentions Abby, which is very interesting. If Abby is able to lead this group, what kind of person does that make Abby? Is she as rational as a leader like Jesse? Or is she different? If she's fully with the Wolves, why isn't she there with them right now? Why is she also gone? It creates a very intriguing play for our antagonist that we are going to see at the end of this episode, and who we're going to get longer at the end of season 3. So I think this was a nice scene that might just work better, if somebody was to just binge season 2 and then go straight to season 3. This scene might work better. Otherwise, it's just purely a lot of setup for what is to come. But I'm cool with it. We got more Jeffrey Wright. And it offers an intriguing look at like, okay, he also has a very soft spot for Abby. Oh, that brings me to the line I didn't like. He says like, "Do you love her or something? You in love with her or something?" Like, that kind of didn't need to be there. I was like, okay, whatever. It's just a goofy line reading to me like, you in love with her or something. And then she continues that by saying like, some older people in our camp, and he kind of stops her off there. I'm like, what were you about to say about the older people with these wolves? Like, what is happening with these fucked up wolves? Like, what's going on here? It's a very weird line. I didn't really like it because I don't really get that from Isaac, and obviously Isaac does not love her. He kind of shoots it down automatically.
I think he's trying to grapple with like, why is Isaac making this like hard, like all in on Abby? What makes Abby so special?
Which is interesting because another slight criticism of this line is that like, if Park, this woman, if she is so high up in the wolves already, shouldn't she already know Abby's positioning? Like, shouldn't she already know, like, hey, Abby's skilled. Abby could potentially, like, I think this scene would work better if she comes in already knowing that Abby could be like the next in line, and she could just confront Isaac being like, hey, Abby is not fucking here. She deserted us in our time of need. And that could just create a more compelling confrontation rather than her being like, well, why do you like Abby? Like okay. Anyways, it's a slight criticism for this scene, but which otherwise I kind of liked. I love Jeffrey Wright's delivery here. I like his presence in a lot of these scenes, and it gets me very excited to see, again, Isaac and Abby. One of the things I'm envisioning for season 3, if they do longer episodes, or at least a longer episode count, outside of stuff that we're probably going to get more backstory with the scars, more information, more scenes with Lev, Yara, their family, maybe. But also, with regards to Abby and Isaac's meeting. Abby and Isaac, what if we see Abby first going into Seattle? Abby's first days in Seattle, not just like Abby day one, but just her first time leaving the Fireflies in Salt Lake, having nothing but the friends on her back, the Salt Lake City crew. And then, we saw in episode 1 that they're like, I heard there's some group in Seattle that we could go to. It's like, what if we see them entering Seattle for the first time? What was Abby like after just recently losing her father and then being confronted with Isaac? How was Isaac 5 years ago? Right? Yeah, this was 5 years ago. Yeah. How was Isaac 5 years ago? It would just be very interesting to see Abby. We could get a whole episode of Abby like going through the ranks from Abby when she first gets to Seattle and to who she is today.
Totally.
That'd be very interesting. Because even in the game, when we get the Abby flashbacks, it's mostly Abby and Owen flashbacks, right? We see the progression of Abby and Owen's relationship, which also, again, hopefully for the show, they can condense those flashbacks to a single episode. Because in the game, it's like, okay, we get Abby and Owen flashback, and then we get another Abby and Owen flashback where we're just on the aquarium. Like, if they can just condense it to a single episode, I think that'd be very nice for me. Thank you. But anyways, that was a very fine scene. But yeah, let's dive into Scar Island. I don't have any notes for this. What do you got?
I wonder if I think it may be interesting if it's used for setup for Ellie to like have the perspective of that, even down to like the youngest of children, Scars maybe truly cannot be trusted. So when you later see it's Lev who's running around with Abby, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so like then later when we see Lev around, who ultimately is, I think, the one to step in from Abby harming Dina, right?
Yes. No.
So no,
what?
Doesn't that like lead to Abby like not taking out Dina in front of Ellie and just like telling them to leave?
Dina starts slashing Abby with a knife, and Lev shoots Dina with an arrow.
Oh, sure.
And then but I see what you're saying. Lev is kind of like the moral compass for Abby in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So I was kind of like under the impression that may be set up to like Ellie will see Lev with Abby and just think like, okay, truly all hope is lost. Because I'm in this situation again where
But I
they
feel like the
just
show has already showcased the violent nature of the scars. We already got that scene in the zoo with the scars. We got the scars
sure.
in the news station. Like, hey, these are some brutal people. Showcasing us that even a kid, like, I think that's what you're saying, like, right? And that's what the show was
Yeah,
saying.
because
Ellie tries to save the kid in the parking lot area.
yeah,
Jesse says, "Stop. We're gonna lose that fight," and the kid gets killed, presumably. But then we see later on a different kid being like, "You're dead, Ellie."
yeah,
They just go to show that like she can try to save these kid scars, but there's also kid scars that are also bad. It's like, but I get it. Like these are bad. They're bad. There are bad people in this group. Not all of
yeah.
them. We don't know. I can't. We don't overgeneralize.
Heroes on both
But
sides,
still,
villains everywhere.
exactly. But for me, I'm just like, it's just too short. You could that scene could have that impact that you're saying if it was a bit longer, but it plays like a James Bond sequence where it's just like, I'm gonna kill you. You're nearly dead. Oop! I get distracted. Leave her. I'm like, leave her. You can just slit her throat, and it's leaving her and slitting her throat and walking away is the same amount of time. It felt very like
Damn.
James
Yeah.
Bond, where it's like the laser's right there. It's like, oh shit, there's an explosion in the building. Leave him. Let's run away. It's like, why would you leave him?
It might be a little longer to like slice Ellie from the gut and like watch her like string her up or like tie a bleed versus like, oh hey, our entire civilization is crumbling. They need as many as they can to help. Let's go.
True. Yeah. But this scene just felt so short, and immediately Ellie's back on it. And in the after the episode, they're like, well, this was Ellie's last chance to be like, after she nearly died, she could have gone back to Jesse and Tommy, but she still goes on ahead. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I never even had a qualm that Ellie was going to change her mind just because she nearly died.
I'm sure the perspective is just to set up the idea of the parallel at the same time of the village being on fire, but you can also still get that from like Ellie was on the water and she saw an explosion over there. So
that's why I said during the episode, because I was complaining about it I was watching it. I'm like, Jalen, you can get the same impact by Ellie riding on the boat, turning around and seeing an entire island on flames. That would be very interesting. Just that image of just like, wow, this island is on flames. What the hell is happening? Because we still don't know what's happening. We just know there's a conflict, but like Ellie nearly dying doesn't change anything.
I guess they just want to set up like some intrigue of like, hey, there's some bigger shit with the scars. That's why they like run away.
Exactly. But again, we get that from the Isaac scene. So I'm just like, when we get a scene like this, I'm just like, what did we gain here? And for me, I can't see anything that we gained here. And it's baffling because it was a cut scene from the game. And immediately watching this, I'm like, I can see why this was cut. I can see why it was cut because Ellie's going to the aquarium isn't changed at all. Like this scene is not in the game. It does nothing for you.
Now that you've told me it's a cut scene, I'm sure it was like a thing where Neil and Craig were probably like, let's see how it does play. Let's just see how it looks. Haley, and it's like, all right, well, we have it shot. Why not just attach it?
Haley, the co-writer on The Last of Us Part 2, and she co-wrote this finale episode. She co-wrote last week's episode as well with Neil, and then she co-wrote this episode with Craig. And yeah, she said like this was a cutscene from the game, and we wanted to give Ellie one last kind of like option of like you nearly died, Ellie. Are you still going to go to Jesse and Tommy, or going to go with your Abby revenge quest? And I'm just like, that was never a question for me personally. I don't think it was needed, but luckily it's like a 3-minute. And that's kind of the problem with it. It's a very short scene in general, so it's like, what's the impact? But either way, I think it would have been really cool to see Ellie like angry and then turn around and see like, what the hell, like this huge island on fire.
Yeah, that does make it interesting though, because as when she left the Scar Island and then got back in the boat, I was like, damn, the motor fucking survived that wave.
Right? Yeah, how was that so active? Yeah.
Because even at the beginning of the scene when she wakes up on shore, I thought she was just on the shore of the aquarium.
Me too. I was kind of surprised. I was like, there's a Scar on the aquarium? What's he doing here? I was like, oh, we're on a different island. Oh, shit. So yeah, that was kind of jarring. But yeah, so not my favorite scene, but whatever. we get to the Mel and Owen confrontation. I like seeing her get into the aquarium. By the way, very
Yeah.
funny.
Do you think
Um,
the conversation is going to be bigger from a different from the other perspective going into it?
oh yeah,
Like
yeah.
leading up to it?
Mel, you mean between Mel and Owen?
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a very long, not very long, but they had a fairly decent conversation before that.
Oh.
So let's see here. Um, Mel, yeah. So reading the subtitles, Mel is worried about being behind enemy lines. We
Mm.
can't be behind enemy lines. It's very dangerous. Owen responds with, I do not have a choice. It's Abby. I can make it there and back in 30 minutes." And I wrote in quotations, like, I assume he says, I can go rescue Abby from Scar Island and come back. That's probably what they're talking about. Because Abby, before this, also we see bandages, bloody bandages on the on a table that Ellie is walking past.
Yeah.
This was Yara's bloody bandage. Earlier on in the day, Yara gets hit with the arrow, or she gets wounded, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So Mel has to heal Yara. That's where the bloody bandages are from. And then later on, Owen's ready to dip. But before they can dip, they learn that Lev left to go to Scar Island. Abby and Yara go over there to go rescue Lev. Because Lev's like, I can talk to my mom. She'll be cool with me. No. So Abby and Yara go over there to Scar Island to go rescue Lev. She tells Owen that. That's why Owen knows exactly where she is. And she says, Owen probably like, hey, help me get back out. Rescue me from Scar Island. That's why Mel's like, don't go fucking over there to go to a war zone for Abby. And Owen's like, well, it's Abby. I got to go. This gets into a conversation that I saw online. Apparently, Mel's actress was like, for season 3, there might not be a love triangle, or it might not be as surface level as a love triangle. They said the love triangle angle between Mel, Owen, and Abby was there because the game couldn't really, fully dive into their trio dynamic, basically, and that the differences in the struggle between Mel and Abby is going to be a bit more personal. It'd be a bit more clash of personality, clash of differences, than it just being we both love Owen, which I'm excited to see. See what differences that makes. I know some people are upset about that online because they hate Craig Mazin, but I'm willing to give him benefit of the doubt about this thing. I'm like, okay, cool. I like Mel. I like Abby. I'm very curious to see their differences. Mel isn't my favorite character from the game, so if they can explore that in the show some more, all the better.
Totally.
Same thing for Owen. Owen isn't nearly my favorite character in part 2, but the more I play the games, the storyline, the more I appreciate Owen. But I'm excited to see Owen explored deeper in the show if they can.
Yeah.
And they also a big one here. Mel's child might not be Owen's. Unlike the game, which is definitely a big source of discomfort between Abby, who loved Owen loved Abby. Abby's basically need for revenge kind of pushed away Owen. Owen went to go get with Mel. Mel gets pregnant. Mel has like a weird relationship with Abby after that. Owen has a relationship with both of them. It's very messy. But I like them. It's messy, and that's what Last of Us Part 2 is. Messy relationships in general. So it kind of worked for me there. But if that's not Owen's kid, it makes for an interesting relationship between Owen and Mel. Yeah. I kind of like it being Owen's kid because it's just so messy, and I like that. Again, I like that messiness. But some people are like, "Well, there goes Craig, not trying to make everything as messy as it is in the game. We like our messy game." And whenever I say messy, I mean like messy in a good way. But for me, I'm just like I'm willing to give Craig the benefit of the doubt. If that isn't Owen's kid, cool. What does that mean for Owen and Mel as a duo? We do see in episode 1 that Owen still cares for Mel. I was like, hey, are you good right now? Right. So
this isn't like a thing where some studio exec is adapting a game and they're just like, let's cut the thing. We gotta meet a runtime and shit like that. This is like every change they've made has been so purposeful for making a new flow for the character arc that's as enriched as they can possibly make it.
Yeah, I'm ready to defend a lot of the changes that people have said online. Like the biggest ones, again, I mentioned up top, is like the lack of the emptiness of the season, the way they're desanitizing Ellie's quest for vengeance, making it she's more likable in the show. They're always trying to make it seem more innocent in the show. She's not killing enough in the show. And I'm just like, she doesn't need to kill a lot. People are upset they didn't kill the dog in this aquarium sequence. Ellie's in the vent. She gets out of the vent. The dog, Alice, comes up to attack Abby or Ellie. Ellie stabs the dog. And Craig defended it, saying, like, if I killed the dog, it's just one more, it's too much death on Ellie's hands. Yeah. And I think that was a bad excuse from Craig. But from my excuse, because, like, Craig saying killing the dog on the show would have just been one more death added to already a bigger death with the death of Mel and the kid, which is fair. But for me, I'm just like, killing the dog does nothing in the game. Why? Because I've killed thousands of dogs up to that point already. It's like killing the dog in the aquarium, this dog has a name now. This dog is Alice. It's Owen's dog. It's like, okay, like it still does nothing for me because up to that point I had shot, killed, strangled, stabbed 20 dogs in Seattle Day 2 already. I've become desensitized to it as a gamer, so it doesn't really mean much to me. So I don't mind that it's just not here. Granted, Ellie didn't kill any dogs in the show versus a lot of dogs in the game, but not killing any dogs in the show and then not killing any dog in the finale works for me. Same thing as killing a lot of dogs in the game and killing one more dog in the aquarium also works for me. Like, I don't care. I'm still getting the breath of Ellie's still darker departure to violence, even if she's not killing nearly as many people in the game as in the game. But anyways, let's get into this scene that I really loved. Owen and Mel. Like I said, Mel was worried about Abby, whatever. Mel tries to walk away. And
Ellie.
She sees Ellie. Owen lies when Ellie asks, like, do you know where Abby is? He says, I don't know. He's like, bullshit. I saw you talking about her for like 2 minutes. You can tell Owen's like, oh fuck.
Cool map.
He's like, she's like, give me the map. You go over here, point to where Abby is. Then you come over in a better fucking match. Straight line from the game. She's copying Joel's, torture map method about like, you point to it and then you point to it. A better fucking match. This was in episode 8 of season 1 when Joel was, in the winter chapter looking for Ellie. A better fucking match. It was great. And then he just killed those two anyways. Which is why Owen was like, she's going to kill us anyways. But in the game, I never got the sense that Ellie was going to kill Mel and Owen here. I just didn't. Even after she killed Nora, I didn't get the sense that like, oh, she's definitely going to kill Owen and Mel. Because she wasn't really going to. Or at least we will never know. Because Owen, at least in the show, goes for the gun, unlike the game where he's trying to strangle for Ellie's gun. But Quickie McGee over here thinks he's like Red Dead Redemption. It's like
Deadeye fucking.
What are you doing? I immediately kind of laughed at the point because I went, I'm like, oh, and you have no. Ellie has all the advantage. She's pointing a gun at you.
I would understand if like Ellie wasn't drawn yet, and like maybe you could do it in a quick second.
Yeah,
but Ellie's like this,
like
straight out. There is no
way.
There is no time to dodge.
Yeah, there's no way. If I'm Mel, I'm just like, let me get far away from this.
Like you have a better shot at like rushing Ellie than going to draw.
You should have gone because he's like 6'5". This motherfucker is tall in the show. You should have grabbed the map.
Go for the arm.
Right. Go for the map. Like, okay, I'm coming to you. I'm pointing the map. And then just like start tackling her. Like
that's always something like if I was on Ellie's end, I would always be cautious of it, just like, hey, don't fucking close the distance.
yeah, because you're huge. Right? But that's what happened in the game. Like he gets close to her and he tries to go for the gun and gets shot in the chest. So maybe same thing would have happened here. But either way, going for the gun is kind of even stupider. But either way, it's funny and it works. Owen gets shot in the neck. Very cool, bloody shot.
Yeah.
We see Mel turn around, look at the bullet against the locker. And
this
then
was surprising.
The slit come over. Like, that was really well done here. I loved this, Nathan.
Because it was such a happenstance, quick response accident. So I'm just like, oh no, knowing that Mel is pregnant, I'm like, oh no. Even though again, I know it's coming.
Extremely dark. And again, this doesn't just because it was an accidental shot against Mel doesn't dissipate Ellie's actions. She still shot and killed somebody. She killed Owen and she killed Mel. Whether it was an accident or not, whether it was an accident or in the game, it was just self-defense. Either way, she's not actively killing these people. She's defending herself in the game and she was defending herself in the show. But either way, this one just breathes more of a collateral damage than what the game was trying to be. Because the game is not collateral damage. It's just like, you were attacking me, Mel, so I had to kill you. But in the show, this is the definition of collateral damage, where she shot Owen, she misses, or she doesn't miss, she just grazes Mel's neck, it cuts deep, and starts to bleed out. And it gets even darker with Mel trying to save her baby. She says, you have 30 seconds, I'm going to die, please come over here.
Yeah, that's not in the game, right?
Not at all. And I loved this. I was like standing up, dude, watching. I was like, oh shit. Like, I was going crazy watching
it. It's such a terrifying panic too, because that's a heartbreaking sentiment in and of itself. But then, even thinking if Ellie was able to fulfill it, it's like, was the baby okay? Is this premature? Would it even survive in this dingy setting?
Right. Oh. And it's such an immersive scene because it's like, what would you do in that situation? It's like, I don't know. Do I cut? And then she's like, cut deep, but not. It's deeper than you think. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Am I cutting into the baby? It's like, how deep do I cut here?
Yeah, it's unnerving from the lack of knowledge of what to do, the fast pacedness of the situation, and it hits all the more impactful with Ellie's emotions because you saw not only she connected with Dina, who's pregnant, but you see how excited Ellie is to be this parental figure for this new child.
I'm going to be a
father. She cares about it already. Yeah, she's already so attached to the baby, always asking if Dina's okay, if the baby's okay. Literally asked at the beginning of the episode, is the baby okay? And now you're here.
Now you're here and you're reaping your consequences. But like you said, that's two sides of Ellie. She's caring for Dina. She was worried about Dina's baby. She's getting a book for Dina's baby. But when offered the choice to stay in relative safety with Jesse and save Tommy and go back home, just like Dina said, hey, here's for your safety. When Dina gave her that ribbon, please come back. What does Ellie do? She risks her life to go on her own selfish revenge quest that she just revealed to Dina already, which is bad. And guess what? She nearly dies on Scar Island. She gets to the aquarium, finds out nothing about Abby's location, and only ends up killing a person who shot at you and a baby. You killed a mother. You learned nothing at the same time. So you think, okay, this scene is gut-wrenching. It was awful to watch. This has to be the end for Ellie wanting revenge on Abby, right? No, it's not. And because we get to the scene with the theater, we get back. Oh, by the way, before we get back, I loved seeing Tommy be there, come here, baby girl. He didn't say baby girl, but he just says, come here, it's okay. It's an obvious Joel parallel, and it's really cool to see Tommy again. I loved it.
And Tommy's always been that with her. We even saw in episode 6, when she burned her arm, he was very comforting, very caring.
Yeah, that's why I like Tommy in the show here. Show Tommy is much more of a parental figure to Ellie than in the game. And that's different because in the game, Jesse is much more out for vengeance than in the show. Mm-hmm. But I do like seeing Tommy being that softer parental figure. Which again, I like it now, but I'm curious to see how it works for later in the game. Tommy obviously can't be the one yelling at Ellie for go back out there.
It makes me wonder.
Are we going to get that with Tommy, who already didn't go to Seattle for vengeance? He only went there to save his daughter Ellie. So I am curious to see how that scene's going to work. I know a lot of fans love that scene of Tommy like berating Ellie, pushing her.
Me too.
But
I like it for the full
I
spectrum
love
of
it.
narrative.
I love it for that game. But I'm curious to see what the show's going to do now, because you can't really do that now. Or maybe you still can. I don't know.
I wonder if it'll like affect things, because I kind of have a theory on like what's gonna happen like post that cut to black that the episode ends on,
Okay.
or just about ends on.
Okay, we'll get to that then. Hold that thought.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I like seeing Tommy back in the theater with Jesse. And I do love seeing that forgiveness from Jesse and Ellie. They are best friends. Ellie does say like thank you for coming back for me at the aquarium. He's like, maybe Tommy forced me to. I love how Ellie's so annoyed. She's like, but did he? You're like, okay, but did he? And Jesse's like, no. He's like, I've come to believe that you'd set the world on fire. If something happened to me, you'd set the world on fire to come save me. And Ellie's like, yeah, I would. Which I think makes a lot of sense. I think if something bad happened to Jesse, she would definitely do that.
We ride it on.
She was willing to go save that Seraphite boy. So she definitely go to try and save Jesse. So it's just very sweet. Again, despite all their disagreements at the bookstore about who they are in their communities, their love, they still very much love and respect the other. It's a beauty of a great friendship. You're not always going to agree with your best friends, but at the end of the day, they can come together. Totally. Unfortunately, Jesse, you come together, you're all happy, you hear gunshots, you go to find the gunshots, and then bam!
I'm watching him run down the aisle, and I'm like, don't, slow. No.
And Jesse unceremoniously shot in the cheek and just dead. It hurts.
Every piece of my will looks at him, and I just I try to will into existence. Is there any way to operate to save?
Maybe we're in and out.
Through the cheeks, just
that happened in Sicario too. It was so goofy. I'm like, because he was like tied up, and then from an angle, somebody shot him like from here, and it went like boom, boom, and he like dropped dead. And then like a scene later, he like wakes up and it's just like the blood was coming out of his cheek and just like apparently healed. It was stupid. I was like, okay.
I think you could live that. I think you're going to be in a fuckload of pain though.
Right? Yeah, it was weird. I was like, okay, I guess he survived. But anyways, what's it called? I like the scene a lot. We see Abby finally again.
Yeah,
throw down the
looking
gun.
so pissed.
Sexy. Oh yeah, pissed. Yes.
They go hand in hand.
I love Caitlin Deaver, man. She is fantastic in this role. But she's not buff, Nathan. Oh my gosh.
Whatever, she'll kill you all the same.
Like it is May 2025. People are still pissed that that Abby isn't jacked. Somebody said today was like, I mean, I like the scene, but if only Craig committed to Caitlin buffing up a little bit. I'm just like, Caitlin was never going to get to the level that Abby is in the game. People were never going to get on board with it. I don't need it.
Also, you don't know that she hasn't like done some weight training. I'm sure, like we just seen her in jackets. Like I'm sure she looks toned as hell.
Exactly. She doesn't need to be like this big buff machine. It works in the game. I like it.
Yeah.
But in the show, you get Caitlin Deaver, which is another great.
Which is interesting, and it doesn't make me wonder. Like maybe they will like buff her a little next season, because again, this season you don't see her physicality under her clothing.
Maybe I wouldn't mind that. So yeah, Abby thinks that Tommy killed all of her friends. Elliott's like, no, I did. I didn't mean to hurt them.
The author of all your pain. That's like the bar of that movie.
What was that? Spectre?
I think it's Spectre, yeah.
It's crazy how much I did not like Spectre, but then I love No Time to Die.
Visit the Craig films, dude.
They're really good. Minus Spectre and minus Quantum of Solace. That movie is so messy.
I find
It's
I found Spectrum I found Spectrum enjoyable, and especially I think after Quantum, I'm like, as long as it's not Quantum, I think I'm okay.
yeah, it's definitely not Quantum. I was just bored by Spectre. It felt hollow
Yeah.
to me when I'm watching it.
In like a way lower sense, it reminds me of like watching Mission Impossible. It's like I do find enjoyment in 2 for Mission Impossible, but like it is the weakest.
Exactly. You know, people are putting 3 below 2. I'm like, you guys are crazy.
Whoa,
Crazy.
stop.
They're putting Ghost Protocol last. I'm like, you guys are insane.
That is why. I mean, I know I get shit for like I think I'm at the midpoint whenever I rank Rogue Nation, but like I love Rogue Nation. I just the other ones bump up a little more.
Perfectly fine. Yeah. Hey, we haven't even talked Final Reckoning, my guy. We haven't even. It's been a weekend.
That'll be later in the week, I think.
Later in the week. Lilo and Stitch and Final Reckoning for sure. You saw both, right?
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to see Final Destination yet.
Okay, that's cool. So yeah, I love Abby here. The tension is palpable in this entire scene. You know, again, she thinks that Tommy killed her friends. Abby probably thinks that because Manny just died right in front of her from Tommy. But Ellie says, no, I did. I didn't mean to hurt them, which again, she did mean to hurt Nora. She did shoot Owen. The only person she really didn't mean, if you want to get technical, was Mel. But that doesn't take away from Ellie literally saying in the same episode that she didn't mind hurting Nora. So people taking that line out of context is just crazy to me. But again, go to the beginning of this episode if you want to hear me talk about that. But anyways, she said, I know why he killed Joel. He did what he did to save me. And that's when Abby really gets into like, wow, I let you live. I let you live and you wasted it. Boom, boom, boom. Ellie says, no. People making fun of the edit.
It was cut very fast.
It is weird.
I mean, I do notice it more. I mean, I think when I was watching it, I was like, quick. But like, I also was like, I mean, compelling cliffhanger. And then I do keep seeing it get shared around, and I'm like, that was a very fast edit. But I think it's all in service to a longer segment of that scene shot that they want to save for next season.
Exactly. Because I'm like, what is she saying in the game? So I go to the game and she's like, she doesn't say no. She says, wait. Which is the same thing.
Which brings me
to
the pin we put in my
sure. About Cook.
I think what this is going to lead to is I think Tommy, to allow Ellie to run, is going to try to intervene, like grab Abby by the leg or something.
Which is what happened in the game, yeah.
And then she's going to turn to shoot at Tommy and be like, no, wait. And Tommy's going to get the fucked up eye.
Yeah. Because in the game, Abby points at Ellie, about to pull the trigger. Tommy grabs Abby's leg. Abby points down, shoots Tommy in the face. You think Tommy should die? He doesn't.
Yeah, I was like, you one-two'd me.
I was like, oh shit. But then, what's it called? While Abby shoots Tommy in the face, Ellie dips, points back, starts firing back at Abby. Abby ducks with Lev, because Lev is off screen. And then they jump into the auditorium to go find a running Ellie. And then cuts to the chasing. She tells Lev to stay at the top of the auditorium while she goes down to chase Ellie. And then we get the confrontation. I can't wait for that. But yeah. So that makes a lot of sense, man. Just like I think, she said no. I think it's just like I don't want to die, and no. Right when Tommy tries to save her.
Yeah. And that. To the original talk point with Tommy in that future scene and like egging on Ellie to keep fighting. I wonder if like they're gonna play up more the after effects of getting shot and damaged by Abby. If like it may start to affect his personal day-to-day, his function, his connectivity with his family, both as a husband and a parent, because she leaves in the game at some point. I wonder like what greater effects will stem from Abby's injury that may cause Tommy to spiral into that deep revenge that Ellie was running on to finish it, and then get mad at Ellie for not being a part of it as well.
So basically, like him getting shot is going to be like you might as well finish this. Is that what you're saying? Later on in the game, because it's like him getting shot is going to have a crippling relationship with obviously with Maria.
Yeah.
But then it's just his life in general is going to be fucked after nearly dying.
Yeah, I can honestly see. I think what will actually be like a great function that is like, if his eye gets damaged enough where like his peripheral is screwed up and he can't shoot, he can't fight, like be that protective role of being a fighter, and he can't function based off of that. I'm sure like there's other things that peripheral will mess with and like your functionality, but I think also the idea that if Tommy can't physically fight like he used to, therefore can't finish the job of taking out Abby, that's why he needs Ellie for his own selfish interest to go after her to finish this. So when Ellie tries to deny that, then he would get even more irrationally angry about it.
But Tommy doesn't want to kill Abby. But Tommy's like the same person being like, you can't
no.
Are you cool with that?
And I'm saying like, yeah, he's not at this moment, but like if he goes through like I'm saying like the after effects of the damage to his eye that Abby leaves could cause negative effects in his life that will erode Tommy's mindset.
Ooh, okay, cook. I like that. I can see an episode, maybe not a whole episode, but part of an episode if they go to the farm thing, because the farm thing is like a short sequence in the game. People forget it's just Ellie and Dina, and then the next day Tommy comes over and he's just like, I need you, like I'm getting ready to go over there. I forget how it goes, but just like he's berating Ellie. I can see an episode lingering on that in Jackson where we see the slow deterioration of Tommy's life. He can't lead anymore. He can't go to the town hall meetings anymore. There's no Jesse there. His relationship with Maria is weakening. So like his relationship with his wife is going downhill. Maybe he can't care for his son the way he wanted to anymore. Because he's so weak.
Imagine like a classic like father-son catch scenario. Like they probably like to play catch, and now he can't like throw straight, catch straight. He can't do that anymore. Like something like that, and just like another straw to add to the camel's back.
I like that a lot. And then of course now that we have Catherine O'Hara as a therapist, we can get like Tommy talking to Catherine O'Hara's whatever her name is. Like we can have him talking to her. That'd be a great scene. Building up to a new Tommy being just like, if you're still on this revenge path, do what you got to do now. Like, because I'm angry at where my life is because of Abby. Maybe you can go down there, and then that'll cause difficulties because, of course, Dina wants Ellie to stay with her, and Ellie's like already wanting to go fight Abby, and it creates a tug and pull. But yeah, that could be stuff from the end of season 3 if they want to go down that path. So yeah, we cut to black and we get to Abby reading a book called I think it was like Thieves of the City, Thieves of Time. It's the same book that's in the game, which is a very cool detail. And we wake up, we see a broader landscape of the baseball city. The baseball camp and the baseball stadium. We get a broader scope of like the WLF presence in Seattle. And we cut back to Seattle day 1. End credits. I like this happening here. Yeah.
I think that's a really great like tee up for the next season. And
I always said like you can't just fade to black. I would have hated that if you just fade to black. You can't do that in the show. It works for the game, not the show. So I like cueing the audience into like, this is what you're getting into next year or next time. Sorry.
Yeah.
Go.
No, totally. I was just watching and I was like, man, if they do this one thing, I'm gonna like feel so invigorated. And it was just the simple like Abby like walks out and then it said Seattle, and I was like, do it. At day one. We're back.
Let's go. And I like
Oh,
this. I know, again, that's me and you, buddy. But I know some players were very upset when they got like, oh, we're redoing a day one again. But this time from Abby's perspective, like I didn't mind that. I kind of liked that.
yeah. I did see people questioning the idea, like, do they feel people are going to tune in next season knowing we're launching into
that's my
Abby's
worry too.
perspective?
I'm very curious.
I was wondering that as well. Like, I could see how some people maybe not, but also I'm certain people are gonna, like, if you're just like a viewer of the show, that people are gonna want to see what happens with Ellie and Tommy, how they get out of that situation. I doubt they would want to wait long enough to just be like, I'm gonna let like Abby's episodes gather up and end, and then I'll just hop in when they get to it. Like, that would just be like so annoying to like check up on. Like, just experience the show as is, and you don't know like what intersected characters are going to be. You know, you might be intrigued by the Isaac character at this point, hopefully. So to see like that side and like why he's so intrigued with Abby, hopefully you'll want to see these setups and these perspectives and like the people that Ellie went after. Like, yes, they all killed Joel, but like, I think the fact that they planted the reveal so early on in the second episode of what Joel did to Abby's father may be an interesting stepping stone of like going into like, okay, what is Abby's original perspective of like that led her here?
Maybe. Exactly. And they lucked out by casting Caitlin Dever, which audiences are primed to like. If they see movies like Booksmart, I know Booksmart isn't the biggest movie in the world. But she is a very high demand actress, and she's been in a lot of high profile stuff. So
totally, I wonder if
she's gonna be in Godzilla next year too.
That's what I'm saying. I wonder if like season 3 will be out after the Godzilla film.
It's definitely after. Godzilla is 2026, right? Not 2027.
Yeah, I think it's 2020. No, it is 2027. That's right.
It's 2027.
It is. Yeah.
Wow.
They gotta make a. Yeah. Would I lie?
Godzilla. What was it? X Kong.
Yeah, Supernova.
3. March 26, 2027. Damn. Far way away.
I was like, oh.
But yeah, so maybe the season comes out like weeks after. Whatever. But yeah, so that's season 2 of The Last of Us. The season 2 finale did have a decent drop in viewership compared to the season 1 finale. But I think that doesn't show for a sign of quality. The show is still very highly rated on Rotten Tomatoes, 94 on Tomatoes. And I think season 3, if I'm worried about viewership, it's like I just think it's going to have similar viewership to what season 2 had. It might not reach the heights of what season 1 had. Season 1, I guess you could just look at it now as like a big, not lightning in a bottle because it was based on a popular video game, but just
it is a complete one game.
Exactly. And this is kind of like it works as a mid-season finale, not a huge finale, but it works for me. Again, this is a season about communities, relationships, Ellie's drive for vengeance, and how that is starting to ruin her relationship with Dina, and how her love is very much different from what Joel's love is, and how Ellie and Joel's personal relationship had affected not only Joel as a character, but also Ellie in what she is fighting for in this season. I thought this season had a lot of nuance into it in terms of Dina as a character, Jesse as a character, their relationships with Ellie, Joel's relationship with Ellie, how the scars and the Seraphites function, the world building that we got in the season with Isaac was fantastic. The flashbacks in episode 6 was probably one of my favorite episodes in all of TV this year. I liked a lot of Ellie Day 2 and Ellie Day 1, Day 2. The Ellie and Dina relationship is just magic on screen. They were fantastic together. Some of the scenes are truly horrifying with the stalkers this season. The production design outstanding every single episode. If you look at what they did to film the boat sequence, a lot went into that. It was really cool. So yeah, I'm very, very high on the season. I'm high on Bella Ramsey's performance and what they did for her character. I would never stop arguing against the notion of them making her more likable or more desanitizing her by making her so happy all the time. People are still saying Ellie was so happy all the time. I'm like, no, she's only happy around Dina. You got to think deeper about this. Like, she's not lollygagging like, oh, I forgot about Joel. I don't. It's a mask. It's a mask. If you just bother to dig deep into the show, like, she's obviously not happy that Joel was gone. One of my favorite moments from the show is Ellie walking away from the hospital and seeing that that slow smile, just walking away. And episode, the whole Nora thing really kind of sealed the deal there. It's like that's who Ellie really is going through right now.
Totally, man. I echo everything you're championing for this. I think my favorite stuff has been the Ellie and Dina relationship. Immediately like under the Joel and Ellie development, both the highs and the lows. That flashback episode, I think, is the best of the season. All of it. It's phenomenal. Pedro is a gift of a performer. It makes me mad how Mando goes, and I can't get that much from him in it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I think Pedro's performance in episode 6 is the best Pedro we've ever seen, including Game of Thrones. I guess that's the only comparison, right? I mean, granted, I love Pedro as an actor in his projects. He hasn't been giving a lot of breadth of acting, recently at least.
I think the next big thing we will get from, I think he's genuinely going to be great as Reed. I think
he's going to be great in Reed. Yes,
but
it's not going to match Joel.
That is to say, Joel, his performance of Joel. I mean, he's also very transformed. I don't know what they do. Like, I see it's Pedro Pascal, but like they made him look older as Joel so well. Because I look at Pedro just on a red carpet like the other day, and I'm like, dude, still looks. I know he's in his like 40s, but like he looks young.
He's coming out with that Celine Song movie, Materialist, and he looks like a suave, hot dude. And I'm just like, that's not Joel.
Even looking at Reed, I'm like, look at that 38-year-old teacher gentleman,
right? Yeah,
but yeah, like I see him here, and I'm like, especially like aging him from like the pilot of The Last of Us, and then the rest of the season, and then this season a little older. They do so good. And yeah, his performance is top notch. I think this is like his best role he's ever had. We couldn't have asked for a better Joel, I don't think.
Completely agree. And we couldn't have asked for a better Ellie. I think Bella Ramsey is embodying the childlike nature of Ellie, also that sad, conflicted, tortured teenage Ellie that we're getting now.
Yeah, I championed in episode 6 like how she's able to play both young and present Ellie so well, so seamlessly through the years. Even just like the change of her posture, like whatever the angles they film her at, it's just like, wow, you would see the difference in age. She's so good. I can't praise Isabella Merced enough as not only being a phenomenal performer, like she gotta be like my top 5 actresses working today, like truly. Like I'm like, you tell me like make a Mount Rushmore of actresses, I'm putting Isabella on there because there's not one role I've seen her in where she's bad. Even in Madam Web, I'm like, it's Isabella Merced.
Right, like up and coming. I wouldn't say up and coming, but like rising young talented actresses. Like Isabella's like 28, but I'm just like under 30 actresses. I'm putting like Caitlin Deaver. Isabella. It's funny that they're in the same season, but like Caitlin, Isabella, Florence Pugh, Anya Taylor-Joy, like they're in that same realm. Like Isabella isn't getting like 20 movies like Florence Pugh and Anya Taylor-Joy are, but Isabella is just such a, whenever she's on screen, she is fucking amazing. Just go watch Alien Romulus. Like, man.
Yeah, and I can't wait to see her as Hawk Girl. I'm sure like she's gonna be a
and in Peacemaker too.
Right. I'm like, thank God she's already recurring. So good. Yeah. But yeah, she brings so much to Dina. She really has, not to say elevated, because the original performers did wonderful, both in terms of original voice acting and the facial capture. But the writing team, I think this is a testament to like the idea of like they've effectively remade the story of The Last of Us, but they didn't just like we have to like make exactly the same mirrored beats of the character's delivery and whatnot. It's like let's take some different steps. Let's enrich some stuff. Let's explore deeper some other things. let's switch some stuff around to see it bloom into something greater, and they have in spades. I think Adina is like the biggest example of like, oh my god, look what you. I guess like the biggest example would be like, look what they did with Bill and Frank. But
Yeah.
the fact that like Dina is such a deeply involved character and so explored now, yeah, and we're only going to get more of that. And same with Jesse, the being so much deeper explored, getting a lot. I feel like we've gotten a lot more of Tommy here than in the game to explore him as an individual.
I will always defend Tommy. And like, granted, I am upset a little bit that we don't get like full on revenge Tommy. But what we get in the show here of like a more parental Tommy with Ellie, and with Jackson as a whole, like seeing that leadership style, seeing his being like the parental figure, I love that a lot. Like him becoming that role that Joel can't be anymore for Ellie. It's very important. It's very, very strong there. I think Gabriel Luna is just so good. Just the little bit we get of him in the theater with Tommy, they're going over the map. I'm just like, I love the drawl, the southern voice that he has as
the Texan,
as Gabriel, that Texan accent. Like Gabriel, you're a beast. I fell in love with him in Agents of Shield as Ghost Rider.
Bring Tommy Reyes back, please.
Right,
Robbie Reyes.
And he was really great in that Terminator movie that's very underrated.
He is. Yeah, Dark Fate is really
Dark
good.
Dark Fate is underrated. I had
Dark Fate is good.
I had a fun time with it. It's really good. People are like, "Oh, they killed off John Connor in the first 5 minutes." I don't give a fuck.
Like we don't have 5 fucking timelines right now,
right? Anyways, he's so good in that. But yeah, I think he's so good as Tommy. I can wait to see him in season 3. In season 3, man, I'm just like, it is this season. Unlike some people, they said the writing got them upset, or the writing for this season got them worried about the writing for season 3. I couldn't disagree more. I think, given the writing that we got, while it's not like perfect, I think this writing is very nuanced and very underrated writing apparently now. For these characters, it gets me very excited for the relationships that we're getting in season 3. Abby and Lev is like a fantastic dynamic that needs its careful time, and I think they're going to do that.
Yeah.
Lev and Yara, the development of the scars is going to be interesting. Abby and Isaac's going to be interesting. Abby, Owen, and Mel, and Abby and Nora. All of her relationship with the Salt Lake City crew is going to be exciting. Though we got the horror with the stalkers, which was so good in this season when they're like, okay, there's one of them. Okay, 3. Okay, we can do that. Oh shit, there's 5. Like that was awesome.
But then it was like fucking 50.
And then there was 50. And just that horrorness, and then what they did with the Spores introduction scene was amazing.
Yeah.
And now for season 3, like, we didn't talk about that. We talked about the red crane when Jesse and Ellie are walking. You see the red crane. So we are getting the crane sequence of Abby balancing herself on the crane, then just dropping. That's gonna be awesome. Hopefully we get like the whole hotel, because after she drops, she's in the hotel, and each level of the hotel is like a horror movie.
Right. Fucking the Rat King.
The Rat King is going to be crazy. They teased it already. They're like, B1 and B2 are sealed. What's in B3? I don't know. Where are the rats at? They're gone missing. I'm like, oh shit. So, oh my gosh, the Rat King is going to be. How do you put that on screen though? Like that's something that like.
Well, you could do it.
Okay, yeah.
Just think of like a fucking like times 10 version of the finale of Evil Dead Rise.
Right. Even at Rise, I was like, oh, that's Last of Us. That's Last of Us.
Yeah. Someone's a fan.
So I'm excited. What else?
Basically, to say all of it makes me excited for what wonders they've done in developing even deeper the characters in the story in both season 1 and season 2. I look forward to not only getting that with Abby and many other characters in season 3, but and I imagine they're going into season 4. It makes me all the more excited to when we finally do get to like that last confrontation between Ellie and Abby on the beach, because that is like such a amazing climax to me that I think that's one of the best climaxes I've ever experienced in a story.
Where you're just like, I don't want either of these two to be fighting right now. Like, they have to earn that. So I'm very curious how they earn that emotional moment of like, I don't want either of these two fighting each other. It takes a lot.
Which I think is going to be so fascinating when we see Ellie having to walk away from that mission to Abby, be forced back into it, and then break within the fight, losing her fingers as well, and then break into that fight. It does hurt that we don't have the element of that final scene that we got in episode 6 with Joel, but I think you could still have the idea of like her alone in the water and just getting flashes of the people she's lost, and especially Joel.
Again, we'll say it now and we'll say it in 2029 when season 4 starts, whatever.
Oh.
But I'm just like, they will find. Hopefully, Neil is writing this one, but hopefully Neil and Craig can find, I think, an original scene between Joel and Ellie. You bring Pedro back to film an original scene that's not in the game between Joel and Ellie, and it'll work just as well. The reason that one works in the game is because it's a one last feeling of closure that we didn't get in the game because all the flashbacks are so spaced out. But like, so I'm very curious to see what kind of closure they'll give Ellie there before she spares Abby. But yeah, so they did confirm season 4, dude. Not confirmed, but like Craig basically said, like, I don't think we can finish it all next season. He did say like season 3 might have more episodes as well.
Right on.
That's fair because you got to do Abby day 1, day 2, day 3.
And then we got to get back with Ellie and Dina in that room. Yeah,
so I think the farm stuff could be the like finale of season 4 or season 3.
That'd be fun if they did like an expanded episode of the farm.
They would have to. They would, and I hope so. Because again, everything that we said about Tommy and Maria, like we don't see Tommy get separated from Maria, but like you can kind of sense that like him and Maria aren't doing that well by the end. So I would love to get more of that when they get back to the city. But yeah, with season 4, people are saying like they're milking the series, but I don't think, given where season 2 ends, it's like, do you expect season 3 to be all of Abby's days plus Ellie going to the Rattler Island and Santa Barbara? It's like, so that'd be like, if they did 12 episodes next season, you could probably do that. I can see 12 episodes easily. But they're not. It's probably going to be like 8 or 9 episodes for Abby's storyline, and then Dina and Ellie's farm stuff. Season 4 being one whole season does give me like pause, but I'm willing to wait and just be patient to see like where season 3 really ends, and then see where they go with season 4. Either way, it'll have to be a lot of new stuff, and I'm cool with it.
I see the question I do wonder is like, do you think they'll push? No, they probably won't. They probably won't push any further than the end of season of game 2.
Yeah. Neil already said like, no, they're not going beyond the game. But they won't do that.
I think I would prefer like to get any function of story of game continuity in season for a game 3 before pushing that in TV. Yeah, exactly. The game would have to come out before we get it in TV, 1000%. But if season 3 is coming out in 2027, and season 4 probably come out 2 years after that in 2029, by then I don't think even by then we'll get Last of Us Part 3. Yeah, I don't think by then, because like the next game, Intergalactic, is rumored to come out in 2027. Naughty Dog is working on a separate game as well as Intergalactic, so that could come out in 2028 or 2029, but it won't be Last of Us Part 3. People think it's Uncharted. So you never really know. But either way, this was a great season. I'm going to miss it a lot. Totally.
So yeah. Do you want to dive into that Marvel news? Do you want to stick around for that? Or
Yeah, I can stick around. I would love to.
Cool. Yeah, I got nowhere to be. It's summertime.
That's right. Get ready for the 4-hour streams, bitch. I'm just kidding.
Let's go. It's 12:09. Yeah, I got nowhere to be.
Going nowhere.
So
it's a playtime.
Where was I at? Okay. So the big thing is Avengers release dates, my guy.
So what was that? I think I was in my screening of Lilo and Stitch, and then in between Lilo and Stitch and going to see Final Reckoning, I had finally, because chat wasn't loading at all. Twitter was down that day. for chats at least.
Thank you, Elon, holding on this fucking app by shoestrings.
Amazing. Like I had to like log into like my Chrome browser on my phone. I was like, fucking, I know there's messages in there. There's a fucking dot.
I did the same shit. I did when my app's not working, I go straight to the Chrome browser on my phone to see if that worked. It still wasn't working, but
I always check alternatives. I'm like, bitch, I know.
Yeah.
Fucking nothing to update. Bit liar. See the blue dot. But I saw it and it was like laid there, and I was like, oh, like I zeroed in, and this was interesting. So, okay, go ahead and say the.
I wish I knew. Wait a minute. So Avengers Doomsday is not coming out next May. It was scheduled to release May, the first week of May. I think it was like May 6th, 2026. But let me go to it. It was going to come out May 8th, 2026. It will now come out December 18th, on Friday, December 18th, 2026. Avengers Secret Wars will not come out May 7th, 2027. It will now come out December 17th, 2027. So both Avengers movies are moving from May to December. Why? Because it made no sense. They're going to come out in May, and they also started filming like last week, 2 weeks ago. We knew that was going to happen.
So a couple of things to say. First off, damn it. not because it moved, but because Evan, just before, and I was going to like bring it up as like a topic. I went to like look at when the trailers came out for Infinity War and Endgame to kind of like anticipate when we would see our first look at Doomsday. And both films had a consistent release where like Infinity War released the last week of November, and then the first week of December was Endgame. And then they both had spots at the Super Bowl, and then they both had a final trailer in like mid-March. So they were like very consistent with their marketing for both back-to-back Avenger releases for May. And I was like, okay, cool. So we can expect like end of November, early December, first look at Doomsday. Now it's shifting. I don't know where the fuck to predict, but
yeah, I'm trying to think. So I guess you can look for the No Way Home trailer. When did that come out?
I guess that would have to be right. That would have to be, but that was like, fuck it. How late were they to marketing that?
And that got delayed too. No Way Home wasn't supposed to come out in December. I don't think so. I think it was delayed to December.
That's true. But like, we got our first No Way Home trailer in, I think it was August 23rd.
Of the previous year or the?
No, it was the year of.
If it comes out in December, they're not getting the first trailer in August. The first trailer for No Way Home?
Yeah.
If it came out in December, they have the teaser way earlier. It had to come out like February, March, April.
No, because I remember because like the first like actual I think trailer I remember because like I moved to Jersey like a couple months before No Way Home came out, and I was working the last job before moving, and I was at that work when the trailer dropped, and I remember it was like August 23rd because like we're like, when's the trailer? And then it was like, oh, it was the same day on the fucking heart calendar for WandaVision. That's a coincidence, but that's funny.
Yeah, a first teaser trailer, August 21st.
2021?
2021.
That's so weird. And then I guess the second trailer was October-ish, I think.
Official trailer was then November.
Okay, yeah, November. And then that led to mid-December. But like, damn.
Yeah, they did a teaser in February, but it's like a 30-second teaser of Tom, Zendaya, and Jacob just walking.
That was a title announcement. That I don't really count that to like the marketing.
That's crazy. Why did they wait till August?
I don't know. But also, I guess like that would be hard to predict too, because that's on Sony's dime of marketing.
That's on Sony, and that was weird. But yeah, so we know Doomsday's not doing that. But yeah, so
maybe we can gauge off of Avatar's like Way of Water's trailers.
Great point. Avatar: Fire and Ash has not released a teaser trailer yet, and it's May, the end of May.
True. We have to check on that one.
It's James Cameron, so people know what they're in for. But it's Doomsday. People know what they're in for too. So
trailers are hard to predict because like even like this year, like we're past like when the first trailer for Wicked came out for the year, but I think they're waiting for Jurassic World to put a trailer out.
Yeah, for sure.
Universal.
You'll get a Wicked trailer in June. So that's a lot.
All that is to say,
what
the movie.
what does this mean? Yeah.
I think this is good from a VFX standpoint. I think they
They're
got
like,
7 months now, like 7 extra months.
yeah!
Like, let's fucking go.
I can see my family again.
Yeah, because remember, I was sitting here, I was like, they gotta fucking start on just like any scene that doesn't need an actual physical being.
Right? Yeah.
But now they have like a nice turnaround. They also have the ability to like, open up scheduling. And Evan, this makes me intrigued and happy because now they're releasing after Spider-Man 4 Doomsday. It's no longer on the
to my next question though. Can Spider-Man 4 make it in July? If they haven't even started filming it either.
I think Spider-Man 4 will make it. I think Spider-Man 4 will make it. Is it coming out in July?
It's coming out in July. They haven't even a lick of filming yet. We don't even know the title. Oh, we don't. Yeah,
brand new day.
But like we don't know.
I didn't think it was like September. Damn, July.
It's like it's coming out the end of July, 2026.
Yeah.
They could. The rumor is that they start filming like in July, but like that's nerve-wracking.
I think because based on every like modern rumor we're hearing, I think they are truly hitting that grounded level. And I don't think it's
hard.
Yeah, I think it'll be probably easier than No Way Home's, especially since we're out of like the COVID bubble. And it's not as gigantic as something like Doomsday will be. So I think they'll make it in time. I also find it intriguing because signs were pointing that you'll have little to no shot of seeing Spider-Man really in the Doomsday story before Secret Wars. But now, not only would this be after Spider-Man 4, but he'll be well out of the way of filming the Odyssey. So I think Tom will be very much available to hop into it. Not to say like they don't already have a story pinned down, but they could easily just put like, bam, here's Spider-Man. He's in the situation, he's around, and they can make it work. Especially if they're already like filming alongside like some stuff for Spider-Man 4, and Tom's already like around on these sets and in the suit.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I was just tweeting. But yeah, I agree. I think that makes sense. It just gives me worried about like what happened with Spider-Man No Way or Brand New Day. But yeah, I think he will have a decent role in Doomsday. I don't see why not, unless we'll see what happens at the end of Brand New Day, of course. But I think he'll have a decent role in Doomsday, probably similar to what he was not in Infinity War, but closer to Endgame, where he comes in for an action sequence. But I think he'll be a decent role. And work out for it better now. So yeah, this can be the first Avengers film hitting that December release date. The big bummer for me, is that December 2026 was supposed to be Messiah, Dune Messiah's month.
I cannot see them.
I can't either. Disney put their you-know-what down and said, bet you're not going to move to WB.
I did ask here people like convinced like, oh, it's fucking Avenger Messiah double feature day. I'm like, the bullshit they do that.
No, you can't do that. Like the audience is it's sci-fi. They're both sci-fi. The audiences intersect. And this isn't like a Lilo and Stitch Mission Impossible scenario.
That said, Dune 2 did very well in March.
Well, Nathan, it did.
What's in March?
It got destroyed at the Oscars. Like,
okay.
Coming out in March destroyed any chance that it was going to win any Oscars. With Dune coming out in December, I'm like, the Oscars can't possibly ignore Disney now. He's coming out in December, a prime Oscar release date. This is where in 1917 got his debut. This is where, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like, if you want to be a Best Director nominee, it's better to come out later in the game. You could get your situation where you're like the Daniels with Everything Everywhere and just like run through the entire year. But that's rare. If Dune Part 2 can do it, I don't think Dune Messiah, which is obviously going to have less action than Dune Part 2. I'm like, Dune Messiah is supposed to be like a drama, like a slow burn, given everything that Edgar and people are telling me about the book.
Yeah, I was gonna like pose the question. Like, I don't like know the story of Dune Messiah, and I don't really want to until I experience it.
Me neither.
But so like to that point though, do you feel like could there be any possibility of them finishing to be able to maybe move up a little?
That's the question. Like, if Dune moves up to, let me look at my release calendar. If
Say,
Dune
like,
wants to move
October?
up to like November, but I
Okay.
don't think Denis ever is. I think Denis is allergic to the definition of moving up. He's like, give me enough, give me time for everything.
Let me cook.
If what studio is Hunger Games?
Lionsgate.
Well, that's not WB. So Dune Messiah could move. It's funny that there's a question mark on the Doom Messiah because Doom Messiah hasn't been officially. We only put December 18th there for Doom Messiah because it says Lionsgate event, or not Lionsgate. It says what's the studio behind Dune?
For which movie?
The Dune franchise. What's the studio again? Is WB slash
Legendary.
Legendary. Yeah, it says Legendary event film for doing it for December 18th. We all just think that's Doom Messiah, but they could move it up to like early November before Hunger Games Sunrise on the Reaping and Narnia releases in the late stages of November. So they can do early November maybe.
I mean, if they were like really, really good, which is be fucking insane, but like damn, September would probably be prime. Because September is always kind of a lull, isn't it?
Yeah. September 2026 is Clayface, the new Resident Evil, and that's it for now.
I think they would do well there, but again, that's like can you bump up 3 to 4 months?
Yeah, that's ballsy, and especially because Doom Messiah hasn't started filming yet. Doom Messiah starts filming in the summertime here in July as well.
My only real hope is like if they were to like move to like March again, is that there'll be like such a plethora of star power and involvement that hopefully the conversation keeps going, because like we'll have more Florence, we'll have Anya this time, probably Zendaya, I imagine.
It'll have to be like a Sinners situation where Sinners is like undoubtedly getting a Best Picture nomination now because it was the best movie of the first half of the year. So it's like, you know, it probably still is the best movie of the year. So it's like, I think a lot of people are like, you can't deny Sinners. You're going to have to get that level for Doom Messiah, which I think was there for Dune Part 2. People are like, this is the best movie of the year. Oh, it was the end of the year. People are like, oh, it still is the best movie of the year by the end of 2023. So it's like, I hope that's the case because I think what you said earlier is the exact thing that's going to happen. It's just going to move it to March 2027, which sucks. But I think that's like the most likely scenario. It's just like given what we saw with like, granted, Mickey 17 was never going to win any Oscars, but Mickey 17 gets dumped in March. Dune Part 2 gets put in March and only comes out with like 2 Oscars. So we'll have to wait and see. But I think that the most logical scenario is like March for Dune, and Avengers can just reap the rewards of having December. And it could break the December record for box office, which is set by The Force Awakens, which is 256, I think, by The Force Awakens.
Yeah. I think at this rate,
Avengers Doomsday can make. I don't think it could though, but I don't know.
I think it would be quite high. I mean, it at this point.
How much was No Way Home again? No Way Home.
Good question. Remember, it was in a pandemic.
That's what made it so crazy.
Right. I will say though, with the audience having a lack of an Avenger film for 8 years by that point of its release, 8.5. I think people are like very hungry to see an Avengers film, especially with Marvel touting the switch back to priority of quality over quantity, which hit with Thunderbolts. I think it's very much going to hit with Fantastic Four, and it's hard to displease on a Spidey film usually, especially with the general audience.
Aside from this leading directly into Doomsday, oh yeah,
yeah. So then when we go have like all these established characters, both from like the modern projects and like even if there was some you didn't like, you were enjoying some of the characters, Shang-Chi, Doctor Strange, whatnot.
Can't wait to see him back.
Absolutely. So then we'll go into that and a Christmas release as well. It's like, oh yeah, that's gonna be nice. I don't think it's gonna reach Endgame, but I think it's gonna be
nothing is reaching Endgame.
Nothing's gonna reach Endgame, but I think you have a good chance at like hitting around that Force Awakens.
Yeah, I just looked. Spider-Man No Way Home did better than The Force Awakens. It did. Force Awakens did like 248, and No Way Home did 260 million.
I'll like middle ground. I'll say 250 because like while it's like big Avengers, hard to beat the aspect of like whether intentional leaks or not, seeing all three Spider-Man together is like you would think like we'll never see that again. We'll probably see it in Secret Wars, but like you never expect to see this.
Yeah. Again, the top five is 357 from Endgame, which again, this sounds disgusting. In April,
It's a fake
how
number.
can you ever do 357 ever again? I don't
feel
understand.
so bad for whatever opened around Endgame.
I forget what it was, but yeah. No Way Home was the second place with 260. Third place is Infinity War with 257.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth place is Star Wars Force Awakens with 247. And then fifth place is The Last Jedi with 220. You know, the movie that bombed, guys. Last Jedi.
That made over $1 billion.
Right? Remember that? But anyways, it's crazy. I can see Doomsday definitely being the new. I'll go 240. I'll go below Force Awakens because I'm just saying that. But 240, okay. 250. But yeah, it's gonna be. Cause yeah, what was Deadpool? Deadpool Wolverine is 211. So it's over Deadpool Wolverine. It's 211.
It will be for sure, and I think there's a fair if Doomsday hits, which I think it will. I think they'll deliver. I think they'll deliver a good movie. Then I think that Secret Wars will up it.
True.
Performance.
True. Yeah, December 2027.
Again, probably not Endgame, but I think it will outdo Doomsday. Not only for the aspect of like every character, but I think they're generally going to use the characters serviceable to the overarching story that we'll care about.
I agree. So yeah, but December 2026 is pretty stacked. You know, December 11th is Jumanji 3, 18th is Doomsday, for now Dune Messiah, and then Ice Age 6, which I think is now owned by Disney, so that might move as well. Especially because Ice Age 6 comes out a week before Shrek 5. So sorry, Ice Age, but Shrek 5 is going to be huge.
Yeah, if I'm them, I'm like, let's maybe move to like February or March.
I think Ice Age 6. I think Ice Age 6, the studio that had Ice Age back in the day, is gone now, owned by Disney.
Yeah, Blue Sky, the animation studio. Yeah,
is that owned by Disney now, or am I wrong?
Yes, because it was under the Fox umbrella.
Yes.
And then,
okay.
And then I think the studio is down, but I think everything of its assets migrated to Disney Animation.
So I can see Ice Age 6 moving away, especially because we have a Shrek 5 teaser. We don't have anything from Ice Age 6.
Yeah, when's Shrek 5?
The next week. It comes out on Christmas Day.
Okay. That's big. The Shrek 5 is big. Definitely like it's funny to say counter programming, but like, you know, every age watches an Avengers movie.
It works. Yeah, there's a lot of animated movies come around these big blockbusters. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I think even more so like younger children for something like Shrek. Not only for parents wanting to see more Shrek that they grew up with, but you know, younger audiences watching, you know, computer animation.
Exactly. And then on Christmas Day is Edgar's next movie, The Werewolf, or just called Werewolf.
Right on.
Which, you know.
And then speaking in regards to Jumanji, I think that will do well. Was it a couple weeks before, or
December 11th? Yeah.
So I think it'll serve its main fans and audiences in its first like week to two, and like again, like, you know, that little bit of counter programming for.
Yeah, it did very well under Last Jedi.
Yeah, I think like both Jumanjis hit pretty successfully.
Yeah, so that'd be fine. But yeah, we'll see what happens. I think this is it's good for these movies to take their time.
Yeah.
But that means we'll get no Marvel movie between July this year and in July next year. So it'll be a full year between Marvel releases, which is fine.
That's true. I was gonna like compare, like we did that with Deadpool and Wolverine, but like that was still like we went from July to February for Cap, so that's not completely true. But also, I don't know what's specifically releasing for Disney Plus, but there's still shots that I think we're gonna get Vision Quest sometime in between.
Vision Quest is set for 2026. They just cast Jocasta today, the Vision antagonist. She's played by the black actress from The Haunting of Bly Manor.
Okay.
People can look that up. It's cool.
Right on.
But yeah.
And then they'll have another Disney show, because I think they're aiming for 2 movies, 2 shows a year now.
that might be the case for after 2026. I don't know what else is coming out in 2026 besides
Daredevil season 2, maybe.
Oh yeah, duh. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so that works.
That works. Yeah.
Otherwise, there was some individual Marvel character stuff.
Yes. So there have been some rumors from slightly credible Marvel leaker who was speculating on some Marvel news from Marvel theories. So Alex Perez over again on the Cosmic Circus. Again, give or take these with a grain of pepper and salt. But because a lot of these, just by the answers that he's giving, is like speculation.
Right.
But you know, yeah. What's up?
Yeah, these are interesting. They're not very spoilery, which is nice.
Yes.
And then I think outside of this article, I have a couple of Spider-Man 4 casting things.
Cool. So I'll speed through this. The Ironheart bit, like, can you tease?
Yeah.
Somebody asked, because a lot of this is Q&A from him, so the answers are what he gives here. The question from a fan was like, can you tease anything cool about Ironheart? Since we don't really know anything about it. He says, outside of anything that we already know, not much, but we just got the trailer, so
yeah,
that's that.
I also forgot that like Ironheart has apparently been filmed for like a few years now. So
yeah, we said that, right? This has been on the show for a minute. That's why they're just dropping.
Yeah, so there's already like, I guess, like what is to be heard has been heard, but yeah.
Yes. He says, I know Deadline once described Anthony Ramos's character of I forget what his character's name is, but like he has an equivalent to Jonathan Majors as Kang, introduced in a Disney Plus show, but for a larger universe implications. This was 2022. This is still the case now that it's coming out in 2025. Alex says it is actually. To my understanding, we should see him return after the show. Anthony Ramos playing the Hood in Ironheart.
This is interesting, not only because I really like Anthony Ramos as an actor.
He's okay. Kidding.
He's great movie. That's interesting for him to come back, not just to be like a one-off villain, which is cool, but also I don't know the full deeper lore of his character, but I do know he has a connection and involvement to Doctor Doom, usually in his stories.
Based off of what we've seen in the trailer alone, he's a magical character who is interested in science. You know, Ironheart's a science implication, and stuff on his back is all magic. So the magic science is definitely connected to Doom as well. Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see like what bleeds through there. Will he have an involvement with the coming threat of Doom himself? We shall see.
Yeah. Somebody asked him, is Moon Knight season 2 dead? We've heard nothing about Moon Knight season 2. He says, I don't know about Moon Knight season 2 being dead, but I wouldn't be surprised if they held back on it until after a Midnight Suns movie, because Mark and Steven somehow have to get back to New York. So yeah, I think Moon Knight season 2 personally is just dead. I think it's just not happening.
That's sad for me.
Unfortunately, I think Miss Marvel is also dead, but I want that to happen as well. I don't know.
That's tricky, right? Because like, I think Kamala is a popular character. I'm sure like they're obviously like subconscious about the viewership of things, especially for like a whole production of a show. That said, I'm happy. I'm happy she was able to pop into something like the Marvels as a co-star, and we'll see her again leading the champions along in Avengers. So I'm glad to see that set up for as well. So hopefully, again, with hopefully the change perspective of Marvel quality turnaround and everything, hopefully that'll start to like lay the groundworks of people being like, okay, yeah, let me see what you got now. Kind of similar to how we kicked off Disney Plus at the jump.
That's a great point. With Kamala getting to Champions, Moon Knight can probably get like not his sequel, but maybe they can just get him in Midnight Suns with whoever's available for that. So,
which could be a bit of a bummer, because I do like how character driven Moon Knight is. For Mark and Steven, I think there's some really great stuff in there.
The show wasn't that character driven.
It was in the penultimate. That was very character driven for their character.
That was a good episode. That was a good episode. That was when they're all in like the duat.
They were within the afterlife and the asylum and like the history with their mom. That wasn't as great as they remember. Yeah, all those different things, and it gets overshadowed by a bit of a muddy finale for them. But like there's a lot of like cool, interesting stuff within the show, and some great action from Moon Knight. It's all generally interesting, and there's somebody I want to see come back. You know, I hate the idea of like not being able to fully explore the side of Jake Lockley, who I think is the most important developed persona in the comics. So
they just tease him at the end, right?
yeah, they did very quickly. So we'll see how that runs. But yeah, I obviously would like to see him in the Midnight Suns. I want to see him in Midnight Sun project. That may be how we fucking get Blade first, if we're being real. But you know, we'll see
That
how.
don't you dare just relegate Blade to Midnight Suns on Disney Plus.
Maybe does it have to be Disney Plus? Could it not be a movie?
No.
All right.
No, they would not do that.
Do you think they make? Do you think they make Midnight Suns a full show, or do you think a special presentation?
I think special for Midnight Suns, show for Champions.
Okay, let's see that.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. Maybe about track, but yeah.
I was just like for Midnight Suns. I want something like longer than just 40 minutes. I feel like.
How long was the Halloween? What was it called?
Werewolf by Night.
Yeah, how long was Werewolf by Night?
Like 45-ish minutes. Same for the Guardians special. Yeah, it was.
It wasn't like 70 minutes. It was like 40 minutes.
No, it's pretty short. Pretty short, like horror tribute from Giacchino. And then yeah, it's the same for the holiday special for Guardians. And now we have a Punisher coming up for a special.
Okay, never mind. Yeah, I think Midnight Sun's definitely going to be a limited series then.
I mean, if they did like 6 episodes, like they do,
that's cool. Next question: will Nova still remain a multi-season show over the course of the next saga? He's like, I'm not sure about multi-season show, but Nova is a key point for the next saga in the same way Loki was for the multiverse. Do you believe this?
Maybe. If I am to, it kind of sets the precedent that the next looking saga is going to be something more on the cosmic realm. And outside of this article, I also saw like a rumored thing going around that within that news, they're going to have a big focus on X-Men and like in a lot of the intersecting stories to come in the next phase after Secret Wars as well. And so people are kind of posing the question, maybe instead of rushing into like a 1 movie project, they may actually take like a full set phase to explore the story of the Phoenix Saga from scratch to like fully develop it as it should properly be.
Give us the Shi'ar Empire, right?
Yeah.
Like give us the intergalactic Shi'ar Empire like they did in the TV show, which ran for like in the TV show in the 90s was like a 9-episode arc of like, here's the Earth stuff, shoot, they go to space. How is like, I forget the queen's name, but the leader of the Shi'ar Empire, we go there. Then the X-Men have to go to the Shi'ar Empire. That's like a lot of different like intergalactic, personal, grounded space shit. So yeah, I would love for that to be true. Because yeah, I'm reading this. I'm like, are we really going cosmic for the next phase? Because I just thought it was gonna be more grounded with the X-Men, but that could also work as well.
Yeah, I think you could still have like the dual storytelling between stuff that's happening in space and stuff that's happening on Earth, but there's intersecting plots within them.
Yeah, I know Feige is just like, we can't rush Dark Phoenix at all. It has to be.
Yeah,
it can't be like the third movie. Boom, Jean Grey is bad again. It's like no.
Which is compelling because out of like, I'm sure there's plenty of X-Men arcs to explore, but I think like of the big ones you would like look at, there's Dark Phoenix, there's Apocalypse, and I'm sure down the line they will eventually do Avengers versus X-Men.
I'm still curious about X-Men for the next phase. Like,
yeah,
if X-Men is the focus of the next phase, let's say Thor's dead in Doomsday. I think Thor's gone after Doomsday, but
I hope not. Well, there's actually a point in the article, but
is there?
Kind of.
I think Thor's gone after Doomsday. I think Chris is done. I think Hulk's done. I think Thor's done. I think we already have Black Widow gone, Iron Man's gone, Cap's gone. Or not, we have a new Cap, so scratch that. But I just think that like with characters diminishing and X-Men being the next phase, I'm like, are we just gonna be relegated to like an X-Men film every other year, or are we gonna have one movie being X-Men, another movie being a spin-off of said X-Men? Like, hey, we can have X-Men. Our core X-Men movie comes out in May, and then in November we can have like a different group of X-Men or a different group of mutants or whatever having their own movie. Because I don't know what other movies are coming in the next phase from characters that we already know, at least. Like,
yeah, I mean, I wasn't even like fully aware that like there are solid plans for Nova, if there
yeah,
are. So that yeah, I don't know. And I also like imagine like you're gonna want another Spider-Man in there somewhere.
yeah, that's coming. Yeah, a
yeah.
new Black Panther, Black Panther 3, but I think Coogler might be done after Black Panther 3. I think he's like, I did my trilogy, I'm out. Like,
I can see that.
But there's definitely going to be another director. Like, there's going to be like more Black Panther movies, I think.
Yeah, and I think they'll get somebody that will suit it very well.
Jordan Peele. I'm kidding.
Who's Rick Famuyiwa? Maybe, I don't know.
Where's he been, man? Is he in Mando Hell?
Mando jail.
Yeah,
he's in Carbonate. I don't know, but yeah, that'll be intrigued to see like how that moves forward. We had also like theorized that there was going to be like a soft reboot of the universe post Secret Wars that just like settles like there's one Earth with existing actors that are moving forward and maybe like some new ones in like some other roles we shall see.
exactly. But let's move forward here. Scarlet Witch, he's asked about here. What does he say here? He says, I don't know about Scarlet Witch in the Avengers, but I had heard an idea about bringing Wanda and Eric, who plays Magneto, for the Avengers films. He said this was an old idea. I don't know.
I can still see it maybe be explored because we do know that Ian McKellen's back as Eric in Doomsday.
True. So we could get something there. Do you think we'll get to see Scarlet Witch post Secret Wars? He said, I think so, but they're prepping Billy and Tommy to take over.
I believe this. I feel like this is something that is very convincing to me. The idea of I think Elizabeth Olsen is always game to do these, but she has been doing it since 2015.
2015, she started filming in 2014, so I think it's like over 10 years with this character. So it's like if they do one more, probably like that's it. Like I think that'd be it for her. One more.
She has 5 films and a whole season of TV under her belt as this character, which is wonderful. That's as big as like a lot of the big names. She is a big name at this point. And I think the idea of her, first off, her still being around is nice, but also pushing the newer, younger Avengers, especially characters like Billy and Tommy, I think is smart. And I think it'll service the characters all together very well.
Agreed. What do we see here? Let's see. Sentry. Anything about Sentry? He says we'll see him in Doomsday. After that, I'm not sure. Which makes sense. Exactly. And I think he'll be part of either the main Avengers team or if they want to continue doing a Thunderbolt sequel. I don't know if they'll ever do that, but like
this, it's stuff like this and how he responds to these questions that make me kind of convinced that he's telling the truth.
He's not just bullshitting if he doesn't know.
Yeah, he can easily be like, there's like a trilogy planned for Sentry and like plenty of one. Like, he could bullshit so much like clickbaity shit, but if he doesn't know, he's straight up like, I don't know. I have nothing for that. I'm still looking into that.
Because right now, Marvel doesn't know. Marvel doesn't know jack shit right now.
Genuinely hear that, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that sounds like the most trustworthy news source I've heard.
Right. In regards to Spider-Man, let's see here.
Mm-hmm.
He said something about the symbiote, but
so that threw me for a loop because I thought the symbiote thing was retconned in Venom, but maybe not now.
I think it is. I don't know.
I would hope so.
I've said them back. If they are bringing the symbiote, it's going to be through some other means now.
Yeah, I've said a billion times. If Peter gets it in space during the Secret Wars arc, that's how I want him to get it. Because then the Fantastic Four can test him for it, and now we can build that relationship.
Yeah. If he doesn't get it in Secret Wars, he'll get it in the next movie he's in. It's happening some other way, not what we just got. Yeah. Brand New Day. Can Spider-Man appear in Doomsday? What does he say? Let me see here. Oh, do you think the reason why Brand New Day has gone through so many story changes is because Marvel's uncertain whether he can appear in Doomsday? He says, I don't think so. I think Brand New Day is just impacted by a different direction. But if he does end up in Doomsday, then it'll be a simple addition to the story that would enhance the story.
Totally.
That makes sense. Yeah. Again, like the reason they have it so many different directors because they don't really know what to do with Spider-Man. But now that they have a title, I think they're finally like they're locked into this grounded story, in my opinion.
Totally.
Somebody asked, how will Spider-Man's suit from the ending of No Way Home change into Brand New Day? He says, Peter's broke. There won't be that much of a change.
Well, dear.
Cool.
Because
like
I think there was worry of just like updating to a new suit, and
there's a new
like,
suit in every single Spider-Man movie.
I'll be shocked
there isn't a new suit at all.
I think you'll see like the slightest modification of the suit. Like maybe there's just like
toys.
Yeah, and that's usually how. I mean, even when you look at like Toby's suits between the trilogy, like there are slight variations.
Yes.
There's a pretty significant variance from 1 and 2. Like the whole spider emblem changes. To a more filled out one, and like there's shading around the lens of the eyes, little stuff that like you can add a new toy of that.
So like Spider-Man 1 and 2, there's a big, as you said, chest change. The Spider-Man 3 is like whole black symbiote, so it's like
there's a black, even if it's not the black symbiote, the red suit is like there's a slightest like it's like even more polished, but like it looks the same and familiar. But then they have the whole aspect of the black suit.
I think it will slightly change, but not the core design. I think is going to stay the same from the end of No Way Home.
Yeah, and I think it'll be even better because we got like 60 seconds of that last suit in the dark, but now we can actually see it like in its full glory, and whether or not it has some sort of functional HUD display like in the Insomniac games, or probably not because again he's broke. So. Yeah, that said, we're going to see that suit, which makes me excited to see just like classic like fabric. Hopefully they don't do what every VFX in the trilogy did, which is just have him on set in a suit and then give him a CG suit with 0 wrinkles to smooth out. Like just let it be a crumpled suit that looks good on set.
I agree. Okay, that was it for the suit. Anything about Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man Season 2? He says. Not at the moment, not much to say there. But it's coming out next year, right? I think we know that, right? They said it come out next
January,
year.
I think
January. We have Spider-Gwen coming in. I'm very excited for it.
Yeah, we theorized that she may pick up the Oscorp internship in Peter's stead, which she had like a pumpkin bomb-ish looking thing she was tossing.
Yeah, I am slightly worried about like already jumping into Spider-Gwen. I like the Gwen's in here, but Spider-Gwen as well. I'm like, okay, but let it cook because fucking Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is one of my favorite surprises of the year. What a great show! Very surprising.
Yeah, man.
So let's see here. Daredevil Born Again renewed for season 2 and secretly for season 3. So he says the show's been looking good. Spider-Woman, the one with the animated Spider-Woman, they said that might not be happening anytime soon.
Right.
He says that he has no clue what's going on there, but he really doubts it. Because I remember whoever's in charge of Sony, Amy something, she said like you're gonna do a whole Spider-Gwen spinoff with Silk and all that kind of stuff animated, and nothing's ever happened with that. And then Thor. Are they still planning to end Thor's story in Doomsday and Secret Wars? Okay, this is what you meant. He says, keep in mind, I said they wanted to give Thor a big proper death in an Avengers movie. It doesn't imply that Thor's gone forever, but there's still a place waiting for Thor at the end of it all. Valhalla.
Yeah, that references Valhalla. I definitely believe they want to give a character like Thor a big ending like that, and I think an Avengers movie would be significant. Totally. However, I have also heard from Chris Hemsworth himself that he is intrigued about the idea of doing a Thor 5 without the jokey improv aspect of the story.
I do remember hearing that as well. Yes. Yeah.
So I very much could see that still happening, and I would like to see that. Again, there's give and pull with Taika's 2 films.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, even with Love and Thunder's poor reception, we saw the merits in the Jane and Thor love story.
That's a very good part of the movie.
Yeah, man. There's some good stuff. Not every joke hits, but
not
some
all.
hit. But yeah, going back to people tend to relegate that they weren't fans at the time of the Shakespearean Thor in the first one, or whatever Dark World brought us. But like having a serious Thor in, just feeling the weight and gravity of the situation and like where he's at is something that I think we're all very much dying to get back to, especially with how well he was handled in Infinity War. And I like his storyline in Endgame. I think it had the emotional, again, the classic Marvel jokes are in the machine, but the through line of the seriousness of his arc was very well told there. And it's something we would like to see in a solo project.
Agreed. I'm fully with you. I think, that's one thing I wouldn't mind seeing. If he doesn't fully crap the bed in Doomsday or whatever, in Secret Wars, then I would love to see one last hoorah with him in Thor 5. So, if not with Taika, I wonder who they would get to direct. Do they bring? How baller would it be to bring Kenneth Branagh back?
That would be cool. Because
I wouldn't mind that.
Is Kenneth the director of the Murder Orient Express trilogy? Is he directing those?
All three of them.
Fair enough. I think, but Kenneth Branagh he's a good filmmaker.
He's a good filmmaker. Josh hated that movie that Kenneth did about his childhood. What was it called?
About Kenneth's own childhood?
Kenneth's time in England, the black and white movie, came out in like 2022. Belfast. Oh, that was Kenneth's like one for you, one for me kind of thing. But I think Kenneth is a solid director. So.
He's directed a lot of things. Some things maybe not. He did Cinderella live action,
which is still the best live action remake.
Right on. I still need to watch. He's got quite the catalog.
He's a really good director.
Totally. So I would love to see what that would do, because maybe tone down some of the Dutch angles, but otherwise I like the first one.
Dutch angles, yeah. I think that's kind of it. Somebody asked about Thunderbolts. He says he doesn't know what's next for Thunderbolts because somebody asked him, like, do they just change their name to Avengers, or he says probably they just all become Avengers and then go the separate ways again.
I think I had talked on the pod of the idea of they're probably going to be multi subsections of the Avengers, like the Champions, West Coast Avengers, and I think they'll be paired with the groups that they know best that are coming together, and one of those groups would be the Thunderbolts. So I think that'll function as is and get around Sam's copyright.
Good old Sam with the copyright.
That's so it's just like a throwaway line, but now it's a whole meme.
Right. But that's it for the Q&A part of it. Want to end on some Spider-Man rumors here?
Yeah, just a couple things here, mostly in regards to casting. There's a bigger one, obviously, to talk about, but for this one, it says Marvel is currently looking for a Harris Dickinson type actor for a role. I know, like, whenever someone hears like so-and-so type, why not just get so-and-so? And it's totally possible that they try to approach Harris here, and maybe he wasn't available or he wasn't feeling it.
Yeah. Whenever somebody says Harris Dickinson type of role, it just sounds like not exec, but whoever's leaking this knows, like, I don't know, like a descriptor of an actor. Because that's how people talk in coffee rooms and in office rooms. It's like, we need somebody to get like a Harris Dickinson or a Timothy Chalamet type person, and they're probably just reporting this to a news person. So
true. Yeah. Totally true. But that being said, just looking at what Harris Dickinson looks like, I wonder if this could be a stepping stone to a Harry Osborn introduction, maybe. Possibly.
And Brandon, I wouldn't know.
Though that said, that is semi disappointing, because not that they would follow through with what they have in Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, but Coleman Domingo is so good as Norman. I would love to see him as the live action Norman.
He'd be so good. He'd be so good. Does Peter remember everything about Norman? That part didn't get erased, right?
No, he remembers everything he went through and all of the villains he encountered. And I know that you're like you're of the mindset that
because now you can't introduce like Norman in a normal way, because you just be like, you're evil.
That is true, but I love the idea of getting to a point in Peter where he gets entangled with like a relationship of people. And then kind of like, imagine like he meets up this guy named Harry. He doesn't know Harry's last name, but he's just like, he befriends this guy named Harry. And then, not to like re-step on the Vulture reveal.
I was just going to say, you're stepping on something else.
That's true. But it does carry like an even deeper weight than that, because like, yeah, Vulture bad guy, but like this is like, oh my god, Osborn, you said, and the world comes crashing down, especially for someone like Peter, who, Norman killed May
And
in No Way
maybe
Home.
they just play it like Your Friendly Neighborhood, where it's like Norman is a decent person, but like
I
slowly
like, yeah, I like
gets
that aspect
corrupted.
too. I like that aspect too. Is like, it's the multiverse. There's so many different versions of people. You see this is Norman Osborn, but maybe this one's okay. There doesn't seem to be any, like, maybe Peter like goes and spies on him in some aspect, and is like, I don't see any signs of a goblin thing happening. Maybe he's okay. And then you fall into that safety net. Maybe even have a whole movie of a safety net.
You
And
have
then,
you have to do a whole movie of like,
yeah,
because I think the beauty of Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man is that like they went the whole season of thinking like, oh, Norman's gonna be bad, Norman's gonna be bad, Norman's gonna be bad, and by the end of the show, he's just
but
trying to
and
like be great.
yeah, that's a great thing about that too, is when they were setting up somebody like where they're setting up Norman's potential turn down the road, you have where Norman is a pretty like decent guy, but then Peter gets in trouble with Scorpion, and then it's the glider that picks him up, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah. So it's just like those little seeds planted. But I could see like them being something like Norman's around, but he is okay. But then you could have a post-credit scene where he starts the development of some things, and it's like, oh shit, it's coming. But Peter's
yeah,
already attached now, and now he has to be on his toes.
that's how they should do it. Norman's just not like a mustache trolling guy, and even in the game, like he's not. Norman is like this super evil person. He's kind of a dick in the PS4 game in the Soundback universe, but most of
Yeah.
his evil nature comes from just like wanting to save his son and doing anything in the world to save Harry. That's where like kind of like his evil
Totally.
nature kind of comes from. And if they kind of do that in the movies, where it's just like he's a cool guy, he's rich, has a lot of resources, probably makes some bad business decisions, but at the end of the day, he's doing everything to save his son, and that can cause some evil problems. That would be compelling. I would like
Yeah.
that.
They could even do like a thing where like I think the Ultimate Comics, the modern ones, are doing this right now, where I think it's Harry that is the Green Goblin, but he's a good vigilante. He's an up and coming hero working alongside somebody like Spider-Man, and like they're on good terms. So that would be like a cool stepping stone of like starting like everything's cool, everything's chill, but then something could spiral out of control, whether like they have an issue as friends or something deeper, misunderstanding. Maybe Norman like Spider-Man 1, Norman dies and you see Peter there and he makes connections and the revenge plot happens.
You just reminded me that I got to read that run this summer. I have all the time in the world now to start reading that run. I've heard so many good things. But yeah.
Yeah, and then just like the second and biggest one, there is a big report going on right now that Mark Ruffalo is set to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day.
Yes, I saw that.
Specifically, the word is Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner, which I would be my hope that he's just Bruce Banner.
There's no way you put Bruce in there but don't turn him dog.
I don't know. He said the Shang-Chi end credits is just Bruce.
The studios do not have that restraint. They just don't.
No, you're right. And this is, granted, this is a kind of a mild annoying.
What sources is this coming from, by the way?
I think it says Nexus Point News.
Nexus Point News. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know their track, but a lot of sources are running the headline. I don't know if Discussing Film reported it. I have to check. I'm getting all this from Spider-Man News. They're usually pretty consistent with their reports.
But yeah, I like the idea of Bruce coming in. I don't know. It just feels out of the blue for what I envisioned Brand New Day to be. I don't think he's necessary.
Yeah, if this was like a situation of like if Peter had the symbiote in Brand New Day and then he has to turn to somebody and we're not really connected with the Fantastic Four yet until Doomsday, which I would wait. But if he needed to talk to somebody, a scientist reliable, is like, hey, Bruce is around, maybe him. So maybe that. I know Sony has the stipulation in their contract that's probably still in effect where they need at
Oh
least one
God.
Marvel person. But like, and that's the thing that we've been saying is like, well, if you're going to do that, then either use Daredevil or use the Fantastic Four and just consistently use them. And Daredevil would be a great person right now, especially with Fisk's vigilante outlaw situation happening. That would be a cool connection with them. Matt's already on the precipice of connecting with other heroes like Jessica Jones coming up in the next season.
Yeah, I mean those two would make the most sense.
Yeah.
But Fantastic Four and Bruce Banner are in the same vein of like scientist like characters.
Yeah, they're high level scientists for sure.
So I could see something going wrong with Peter's suit because he doesn't have those Iron Man connections anymore, and he goes to somebody like
Yeah.
Bruce. But yeah, I don't know where the Hulk fits in because did they have restraint just to use the brilliance that is Mark Ruffalo? I don't know.
That's a question. I mean, it's like argument could be made is like, we'll save on the VFX budget if he's not Hulk. But also like, will he be Professor Hulk mode? Will he be wearing the suppression that makes him Bruce? Because I don't think they're going. I think they do want to explore the Savage Hulk angle again, but I don't think you're going to get
so?
there. I think it'll be something they would be intrigued to explore again, but I don't think you'll see it outside of something like Doomsday or Secret Wars, where they can manipulate every character.
Yeah, true. I feel like they've stepped so far away from Crazy Hulk.
They have, but also with like how long it's been with how vocal people are of like where they've gone with Bruce's character. That
they do listen to the fans over there, so
yeah, for better or worse. But like, I do also feel like, man, the most compelling stuff with Bruce has been his rage against the Hulk, and like, it is a great climax to see when they can get along. But in regards to Endgame, they did that off screen with and as far as I'm concerned, looking at them, it's just Bruce with the Hulk physique, which tells me that they just suppressed the Hulk personality, which sounds kind of off. That sounds kind of awful. When I saw Hulk in Ragnarok, he's kind of like developing. He's kind of like at a toddler stage of his development, but like he is a developing mind, and you just stuff that out. That's kind of awful.
It's messy as hell. So yeah, hopefully if they do bring Bruce back in here, it'll fix some of that character flaws.
Yeah, but I was also I made a point, so because somebody made a fan edit of the live action versions of Hulk and Spider-Man, of recreating a comic scene where there was a situation. I think it was after the Brand New Day or One More Day, both storyline where the world forgets Peter's Spider-Man. And then they do a run-in because there's a lot of times where Hulk and Spider-Man have a co-running storyline in the comics. And the situation was Hulk remembers that Peter's Spider-Man, Bruce doesn't, but Hulk does because he was like in the suppressed state when that spell was cast. So he remembers who Peter is, and he helps him out in a certain situation. Somebody made a fan edit of that, and I was like, that's a cool aspect. However, outside of Tony's funeral, there has been no run-in with Bruce
that one
and Peter
makes
whatsoever.
sense.
Yeah, like even during Infinity War, like they're in close proximity in the park, but Peter's chasing Strange's body, and then he gets pulled to space, and they're away during Infinity War. He gets snapped away. Bruce is there the whole time. They don't see each other again, maybe glance at each other until Portals, and then it's Tony's funeral. So outside of that, they wouldn't run into each other. And then Peter goes on the whole run with his identity right after the death of Tony, goes on the field trip. Mysterio shit happens. Identity's revealed. All of No Way Home. Memory erased, and people know who Spider-Man is. They have memory, like even Doctor Strange in his movie was shown. They have memory of a Spider-Man. They don't know Peter personally. They don't know who he is, where he is.
Yeah, so that scene of like the Hulk saying like I know who you are. Yeah, that wouldn't track.
Yeah, that is to say, if Hulk even has a personality to come back to in these stories at this time.
Exactly, he does have a son now, so
right, which that's in concept art for. I think it's more so for Secret Wars, but even then I look at Bruce and I'm like, that just looks like Bruce as the Hulk,
right?
So, yes.
So yeah, so we'll have to wait and see. We should be getting Brand New Day filming over the summer, so we'll definitely be keeping tabs on everything that's happening at the films.
Totally. I did. Like one last thing. This is a quick thing. I know they're wanting to explore street level villains, and I think they named a few, but I think like the top two I heard that they were intrigued of exploring were Tombstone and Scorpion.
Yeah, there's been rumors again that like Michael Mando is being sought after again. And yeah, that's great. Like Michael Mando, like if you're not doing the Mr. Negative stuff, bring in Mando and Tombstone. That's all you really need.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's renewed interest in Scorpion after Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man. Yeah, that was great. Like not only was it like a great not only was it a great finale fight, but like, you know, the episode or two before that, like Peter almost died at the hands of Scorpion alone.
He went off on him.
Made him scary. I was like, oh, cool.
I loved that. Like, and that's just like the limitations of an animated TV show where they couldn't really dive into like the craziness of Scorpion. We only saw it from like Tombstone's character, whatever, I forget his name, Lonnie. We only saw it from like Lonnie and Peter's perspective, but like diving into more of like the craziness of Mando, like or like, you know, Michael, what was his name? Michael Mando.
Michael Mando, yeah.
So like diving into more of that, like from his perspective, like that'd be so juicy and interesting. He's such a great actor. Just like let him lock in, let him get goofy and crazy. Like please.
It's genuinely baffling that, you know, I watched all of his work in Better Call Saul, and then it's like you have him on retainer. He wants to do it. I've seen him retweet how Marvel threw away that post-credit scene. Like he wants to do it.
Great character. If Michael Mando, you're not using him. He should be your main villain. You can add in a Tombstone. You can add in maybe Mr. Negative if you want, but like all you really need is a Scorpion, and you're set. You're set. Yeah. Like, and just give us a fun college Spider-Man story, please. Come on, Destin Dale and Cretton. Please.
Give me that. Give me a proper Daily Bugle. Maybe after the reset. Maybe after the Secret Wars reset, I will get a Daily Bugle. Like kind of like how the Daily Planet is in New Superman. It's like they're using computers to publish articles. Like we don't need it to be a physical newspaper.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
But yeah, that's 3:15.
3:15, longest podcast in a minute. We went like 2 hours, 10 minutes on The Last of Us, and then we went in a couple hour, a little bit over on Marvel stuff. That's how we do it over here. Y'all can find me on Twitter, Harris EV9. It's summertime. I'm free from school, free from work for the next 2.5 months. So I'm gonna be chilling. I'm catching up on comics. I'm catching up on manga. I'm having a great time. I saw Mission Impossible twice. I saw Lilo and Stitch. I'm seeing movies left and right. Karate Kid and what's the next Talk to Me directors, their next movie coming out this week as well. Was it Bring Her to Life?
Bring Her Back?
Bring Her Back? Yeah, I said Bring Me to Life. That's Evanescence.
Wake me.
Wake me up. So yeah, seeing movies every week, all the day. Let's go. And yeah, I'm playing Expedition 33. It's called Claire Obscure Expedition 33, and it's a fantastic game. So I'm having a lot of fun, Nathan. You know, and I'm doing podcast, 3-hour podcast. We're so back.
Hell yeah. You follow me _Time Blazer, making a show called Time Blazer with co-star and creative consultant Evan Harris.
Playing Ben, the best goddamn lawyer in Time Blazer universe.
Yes.
Right. Unless Saul Goodman's in the universe.
No, but yeah, good stuff. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like button, subscribe now, already, ring the bell so you don't miss coverage on all things movie, TV, and gaming. And that being said, hope you have a great day. Catch you guys next time.